What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see you. Yes, it is. We are talking about Jesus and Paul today, as per usual. If you have any evidence that Jesus or Paul existed 2,000 years ago, I want to hear from you. If you're over on YouTube, hop over on TikTok because that's how I take guests. If you're on TikTok, come on up. The request button should be right about there-ish or right down there-ish, somewhere over there. But come on up, everybody. Come on up. What is going on? Let me check the chat real fast. Let me check the chat really fast. Wait, I gotta pop it out here. That sounded weird, but that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Okay. There on YouTube, the first comment over there is from Ron Lowther. He said hi. Well, hi, Ron. Okay, so let me check TikTok over here. We got first from King 3D. Spicoli. Let's see. Then Hetty Artist Museum. Yeah, Harry Artist 13th. Yeah, very nice, very nice. I see you, Serapis. All right. Let's see. No more BS, please. Yeah, you can get it nice. Let me get there. Yeah. All right. Turn the volume up. Let's go shrouding. Get in, loser. We're going shrouding. A pop out of what? We're not popping anything. It's just I gotta pop. The chat was you know what? We're not doing that. All right, Mazakine is in the chat. Hello again, T. Sup, T. Good morning, friends. Let's see, 35-second gang here for the Josephus Tacitus mentions. From Spicy Alamo. I watched your life for oh damn. Peer review from Hussein, I guess. I don't really know what that's talking about. Good on you for pronouncing my last name correctly. Well, you know what? That's what we do over here. That is what we do. Like, honestly, we're kind of good at that.
Hello.
What is going on?
Rye.
God damn it! All right. Anyways, what's up?
Okay, so I'm half Christian myself. And I
like
know
your
Jesus
mom
said
was
that
Christian, your dad was atheist, that kind of thing.
my mom was my dad was Christian.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm a
I
cowboy.
also-
That's because my dad was a cow and my mama was a boy. So what you got?
It doesn't work like that.
Okay, go ahead.
So Jesus said that we're all his children and that we should love him, but like it's hard because how do I say this? Like, if you don't believe in Jesus, you will burn. That's what I'm going to say to everybody in the chat. So you do need to be Christian.
Okay.
In order to go to heaven. That's what I'm going to say.
Fair enough. Is that it? I don't think anybody's worried about that.
Oh, is everybody here Christian?
Everybody here is Christian, man. You're the only one who's not.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you said you were half Christian. So, like, get out of here, you half-breed.
Are you serious? I rebuke you.
In the name of what? G? Because we use Jesus.
Bruh.
Anyways, that person was definitely not a Christian. I don't know what that was. But welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. If you're wondering, man, that person sounds like he doesn't have any friends or anything like that, you know, so he hopped onto the live. Well, don't worry. To them, I say, you don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. All right, let me check to see if there's any. Come on. There it is. Okay. If you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul coming up, thank you very much for the little cowboy hat there. If you're on YouTube, if they're sending me cowboy hats, that's why I do the little, you know what? Yeah, I don't have to explain myself to you. Okay. Izzy, what's going on?
Yo, what's good?
Hey, not a lot. What you got?
Nah, I came up to ask you, like, what's your claim? Like what does that mean?
Well, my claim is that Jesus and Paul, as presented by the New Testament, even the natural versions of them did not exist. Are you talking?
Nah, that's not me. That's
Okay.
yeah. I
Well,
don't.
but that was my claim. I told you my claim.
No, you have one. You have on the thing that's like speaking.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think, are you on Bluetooth or something?
Nah, bro. I'll put myself on mute so you can see that's not me, bro.
Well, I'm trying to talk to you. I told you my claim. Do you have a response to that, or?
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Just keep doing your thing, bro. God bless you.
Yeah, all right. What the hell was that? What was that? Was that just his bad connection or something? Like, I don't know. I don't know what that was. That was really weird. I don't know. I have no idea. But, I'll take it.
Flawless victory. Fatality.
All right. Let's see. Jaren, please activate caption/subtitles on your YouTube video. I will try. If it'll let me, I'll put it on there. So wait a minute. Did the last guest only half rebuke you? Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's how that works. I'm not gonna say that name, but you laugh at your own jokes, don't you? Why? And there's no space between the question mark and the why. Who does that? Do you political people do that? I don't even know. I don't even know what that person's talking about. Who is Paul? Well, Paul is the supposed author of like half of the New Testament. So, yeah. Over on YouTube, let me check out YouTube right now. Oh my God. So buckle up, everybody. Let's see. We got Jesus didn't say anything. The Gospels writers said that Jesus said something. LOL. Okay, nice. Christ and Jesus are the same. They're from Cyprian something. Good morning, all, from Skeptic Frog. It's extremely easy to prove Jesus existed. Well, Garrett Lee, if you've got evidence for that, hop over. Yeah, as Exthulia or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce your name, posted there in the chat. There is the link. I take guests over on TikTok, and I would be glad to have a conversation with you. Oh, you found another way to do it. Oh, yeah, that's nice. All right. Let's see here. Gospel Study Reading on YouTube says there is more first and second hand writings that attest to the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ than every other historical figure. Well, I mean, are you comparing the resurrection of Jesus to the resurrection of other people in history? Like, what are you, what are you talking about? And also, I'm not really sure what firsthand accounts we have of the resurrection. I've yet to see any, actually. Yeah, we literally have a presidential library for each president. Yeah, it's dumb. Yeah, they don't know what firsthand means. That's a problem. I don't know. Don't ask me. That's funny. Okay. Richie Camarina. He commented 3 comments. The first one was, "You a Muslim or what?" And then the next one didn't have a question mark, so it was, "You a Muslim or what?" And then the next one says, "Can't tell if you a Muslim or what this is that came across my feed, laugh face, laugh face." I can't tell if you speak English or not. Because you definitely don't type it. All right. But you can come up if you want. Again, if you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, the request button is right about there or down there. They're on TikTok. If you're on YouTube, join over here on TikTok and we'll get it going. Do you even English? Yeah, that's the thing. Crazy Chris says, not funny. Okay. Stop fake laughing. What's your point? Jesus existed. Jesus existed. The Bible is all the evidence. Stop playing. You're a wolf. I can tell. Hez atheist. No apostrophe in the word he's there. And then not funny. Well, the Christians aren't sending their best today, guys. That's the problem. That's the problem. You get in here and you're thinking, oh, man, we're going to talk to some great Christians who are going to have all these good points. Remember, guys, on YouTube and TikTok, listen, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, you should know that 1 Peter 3:15 says you should always be prepared to give a defense of why you believe what you believe when asked of you or demanded of you, and do so respectfully. So the fact that you guys aren't coming up and saying, oh, hey, this is how I know that Jesus and Paul existed 2,000 years ago, walking about in Judea, shows that you are letting God down. And when God gets upset, I've said this for years now, because it's in the Bible. When God gets upset, he unalives a puppy. Twice. The same puppy. The same puppy. Go ahead. Go ahead. Look it up. It's in the book of Esther. All right. Yep, that's how that works. Save the puppies, guys. If you want to save the puppy, you come on up here and you give evidence for Jesus or Paul. DJ Hot Tub says, can you read the verse? No. Peekaboo. There from Ace. What up, gang? From Jereb234. It's in Ruth, which was short for ruthless. Man. You can bring it up, but you can't read it. Typical. I don't. All right. Mateo Potato says host is actually a new age spiritualist influenced by indigenous American beliefs.
Oh shit!
Hello, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good
What you
morning,
got?
man.
What you got, man?
Hey, no, I was just wondering how you saying that they didn't exist, but you used the Bible to say all these verses.
What?
Aren't you contradicting yourself?
I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean?
Well, yeah, you bring up the Bible saying that Paul never existed, Jesus never existed, and then you bring up the Bible. Well,
I would.
why are you using the
quick
Bible
question.
as a reference
Hold up.
to
Slow down. Slow down.
prove your point?
Slow down. Quick question, just to make sure you understand where I'm coming from, because this is going to explain it. I promise you. Do you believe that Santa Claus is real? Do you believe Santa Claus is real?
Be
Let me
honest,
make it a little easier. Do you believe that Luke Skywalker was a real person?
Mm,
Like from Star Wars?
mm, I mean, he was an actor.
No,
that
I'm not
based
talking about Mark
Luke
Hamill. I'm talking
Skywalker.
about the character Luke Skywalker. Do you think that Luke Skywalker was a real person that grew up on Tatooine?
Mm. I mean, in the movie, he's a character, so I'm guessing. You get
I
me?
didn't
He was
ask
a
that.
made-up character.
Okay, so he's made up. So he's not a real person. Like Luke Skywalker did not actually exist. He's not the real son of Anakin Skywalker, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I would beg to differ because who knows? Were you alive at that time?
In a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago.
Well, we can say the same thing about aliens. If you haven't seen one, do you think they're real?
Say aliens? Is that what you said?
Yeah. If you see that whole UFO stuff that's coming out,
Cool, dude. So in other words, it either sounds like you just believe everything without any evidence whatsoever, in which case you're kind of proving my point that, like, yeah, you just kind of fall for anything. And so Jesus is just run of the mill for you. If you believe in aliens and you believe in Luke Skywalker and you believe in Jesus, yeah, it sounds about right, man. So
No,
I
I'm
don't
not
really need
saying.
to debate you anymore if you think that aliens and Luke Skywalker are real.
No, I'm not even saying that.
Okay.
Well, you're
Well, I'm
you're
asking
you're
you, do you think
implying
Luke
that. You're
Skywalker... No.
implying that.
No. You said that it's possible that Luke Skywalker actually did grow up on Tatooine and his father was
No,
Anakin Skywalker.
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay. Well,
I
let me ask you
said
again just to
I
make sure that
said
we are on the same
I
page. Is Luke
so you could
Skywalker a
talk, but I
real
can't
person?
talk.
I'm going to ask you the question again because apparently I heard an answer that wasn't there. So go
No,
ahead
you
and
heard
make your...
what you wanted to
Well, then
hear.
go ahead and
You
make
heard
your
what you
answer a
wanted to
lot
hear.
more clear. Do you believe that Luke Skywalker was a real person who grew up on Tatooine and the son of Anakin Skywalker? Do you believe that? Yes or no?
And I told you, I don't know. I think in perspective, if you're
So in other
talking
words,
about
it's
Luke
possible?
Skywalker, you're talking about Luke Skywalker, you're
Correct.
talking about a movie, a franchise that has been going on for years.
Yeah.
You and I don't were not born in that time. Were you? Were you born in AD, BC? No, right?
What is happening right now?
Were you born in BC?
So in other
Were
words,
you
are you
born
saying
in
that it's
AD?
possible that he could have lived? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
So is it
That's
possible?
all I'm saying.
Is it possible?
Could be.
Okay, that's exactly what I said you said in your answer the first time, and then you vehemently told me no, that
No.
isn't what you said. And now it sounds
No,
like that's
you
exactly what you
no, no,
said.
no, no, no. You said that I said that he did exist, that he was born,
You
and
know what? We're just going to move on to somebody else who's got a IQ above room temperature. What is going on, kid?
How's it going, man?
Hey, what you got?
All right, I'm gonna try to do this best as I can. I'm actually a practicing atheist, and
Gross.
but I'm gonna try to do my best with answering.
What the hell is a practicing atheist?
I'm doing it for 40 days. It's part of a personal trial, and when I'm done with the 40 days, I'm gonna go back and be a Christian. It's just a test. I'm testing myself and documenting it. I'm just doing it for 40 days. Today's day 7. I don't know why. I don't know why God asked me to do this. I don't know why. I don't know why, man. So, all right. The mind of God, all-knowing, omnipresent.
Do you
Yeah.
you clap when the plane lands?
No, I don't get in planes because I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah. You sound like somebody who orders a glass of water as a side.
No, when I order water, it's usually with just lemon or lime. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah. Anyways, so do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul? Hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna get to it. I was just answering your questions. Okay, first I can bring you to Isaiah 13:14, and Psalm 139.
Yeah, in no way, shape, or form is that evidence that Jesus existed. You're just pointing to things.
I know.
Sweet.
I'm
Well, if
talking
you
I'm
know,
talking
then that's
about-
not going to help because
I'm
the
trying to
prompt up
show
there
you-
says Jesus and Paul never existed.
I'm trying to finish this a little bit that I'm saying.
Nah,
and you'll have
nah,
the
we're
an-
good.
you'll have the
No,
answer.
we're looking for evidence that he existed,
This
not
is the
evidence that there's
Are you
like.
gonna are you gonna let me say any of
No,
it?
you
Because-
literally said that it's not evidence, and you know it's not
No,
evidence.
it is evidence. That's why I'm trying to say it.
Okay, so it's evidence that he existed, like it's saying that this guy lived.
Absolutely. God and Paul, Jesus and Paul.
Do you think it mentions Paul in the Old Testament?
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think that one through, did you? Well, anyways, let your mom know to wear something nice tonight, okay? All right. Anyways, moving on to somebody else. If you got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. That was really weird. He's a practicing atheist. I was like, the hell does that even mean? Oh, man. Needs to practice some more or something. All right, we're trying to bring up this next person. Hopefully they come up here. RVBI. Man, don't seem to have a lot of people coming up.
Because you don't let people talk. You don't let people talk.
Sweet.
You're
So,
so
do you
scared.
believe
You
that?
run away. You run away.
All right. So, do you believe that Luke Skywalker existed? Yes or no?
Look, the same thing again. The same thing.
All right. So here's the deal. We are past all the
I don't care
niceties
what's
and
the
stuff like.
deal.
Shh. Yeah, well, you got to care because I'm the one with the mute button. Now, listen.
Nah.
What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you this question, and if you answer anything other than yes or no, then you will be not just
Let
removed
me
from the
talk.
panel.
Let me talk. You're so.
Shh, let me ask the question. You will not only be removed from the panel, you will be blocked. So that's how that works.
Move me.
Okay.
Scary cat.
So, do you believe that
Scary
Luke
cat.
Skywalker actually existed? Yes or no?
Block me then. Block me.
Yes or no?
You're so scared, bro. Let people talk.
Okay.
Everyone.
What was that? Can't hear you. The block must have worked. All right. Well, if you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul, I want to hear about it. He's on his rum spring. Literally in the New Testament, by the way. I don't even know. Wait, what is? I don't know what you're talking about. I'll mess that guy not. Can you tell us your beliefs? Yes. I believe that Jesus and Paul never existed. If you think that they actually did exist, I want to hear from you. Put it in the chat or, come on up. The people in the chat are very knowledgeable on this, to be honest. Even more knowledgeable than I am. They put me to shame. But if you think that you have good evidence for Jesus or Paul, request up on TikTok. It should be right about there or down there, the request button. On YouTube, you can click the link there on the profile or there in the chat that takes you over to TikTok. That's how I take guests, and we can have a conversation. I would love to have a conversation with you. I really would. Come on up. We do have somebody that's requesting up. Cassandra Massa, how's it going?
Good. Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
The Sea Scrolls that they found, and back then they, like for instance, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they weren't written by those actual people because back then, like fishermen and all them could not read or write. And a matter of fact, the people that wrote it were people that were following Jesus and reporting and so forth. So my question to you is, what evidence have people brought to you that states that Jesus does exist?
I mean, they've tried to bring up things like different historians and whatnot that we can get their books today, and they say things about Jesus. Unfortunately, if you dive into it, you can find that these things are interpolated later from other Christians that are trying to make it seem like these people are talking about Jesus. They make errors or say things that the authentic author would not have actually said, and we can tell by taking a look at the other pieces of their text.
Yeah, because I've heard, like, for instance, that part of the stuff that's been written down that's been put in the Bible are actually 400 years after Jesus's actual existence.
There's a little bit of material that shows up that late, but the bulk of the New Testament, by and large, the vast majority of it was written by the end of the 2nd century. So by about 180, 185, you have most of the New Testament. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just kind of curious. I wasn't having too much proof, but other than the fact that they found the Red Sea Scrolls and then they actually found more books, even in a...
Well, the Dead Sea Scrolls don't have anything to do with the New Testament, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the Old
of course
Testament.
it doesn't. Yeah, but still. But also there's other things that like have been found that of course that would not be in the actual Bible nowadays, but there are more books out there that have been found. Have you looked up Trey Explains the Bible?
I have not.
Look that up. He has a lot of interesting things to say about the Bible. and how things have been changed and put in, and like for instance that a lot of the names were changed to be from male to female because when they were writing the Bible down, they were actually trying to get it to where to show that women can't have leadership positions, stuff like that. I've just been diving into it. I'm just really new on this whole exploration of trying to find the actual truth on what's going on. So I listen to a lot of people and whatnot and try to research as much as I can. And I was kind of wondering if you have any info or input. And my next question is do you believe that they existed or no?
Who?
Jesus. It could be just a question that you are asking just to find out more. So you don't believe? No.
No.
Why is that?
Because their stories don't line up with what we know about history, archaeology, Jewish theology of the time, that kind of thing.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for coming up. That was Cassandra Massa, everybody. Cassandra Massa. If anybody's got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, set me straight. Come on. Come up here. Come up here. I know a lot of you people would like to set me straight. Am I saying I'm not straight right now? Yes. No. Anyways, no, come on up if you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul. And also, Happy Pride. Happy Pride, everybody. Happy Pride. Did Joseph Smith exist? Yes. We have descendants of him, and we have pictures of him. Santino Rice says, you got to do your own work. No, really now. Over there, let's see. My God, there's some wild comments over there on YouTube. Brad Kingley says, if you're in the chat and you want to debate the host, go to TikTok. Yes, come on up. There is a link there. You can join and everything like that. We can talk about it. Let's see. CBJ is on YouTube now? Yes, CBJ is on YouTube now. We are on both TikTok and YouTube, streaming live this second. For the most part. All right. Just rage bait the chat. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, if you're on YouTube and you think that Jesus or Paul existed, stop being a little wimp and come over here to TikTok and talk to me like a real man or a real woman or a real non-binary human. Come on up. Talk to me. What is going on?
So you think Jesus and Paul never existed? So how do you explain how they found his
real
robe?
quick. Real quick.
Yeah.
I just need you to be honest with me, and I will honestly, I will let you talk as long as you're honest. All right?
Okay.
How old are you?
15.
Okay. So what I do, if you're under 18, the rule is you have one question that I can answer. Okay, what's your question?
Okay. It's not a question, but can you answer this? Can you explain how they found his robes and also
How they found his? You say his robes?
Yeah, Jesus' robes. How did they find it then?
Okay. So there are multiple places that claim to have something that Jesus owned, either his sandals or his robes. Sometimes they say the pieces of the cross, like some pieces of wood. Sometimes they say the crown of thorns. Sometimes people will say the nails that he was used. A whole lot of different claims, all right? Unfortunately, none of that has ever been scientifically proven to even be from the first century, let alone from Jesus himself. So there are claims of this kind of stuff, but they're not. It's not like a legitimate claim. Like churches make these claims all the time. In fact, there's multiple churches that claim to have the same thing. So yeah, that's how we know that this is not a real. It's not real.
Right, bro. Safe. God bless, innit?
Say what? Okay, I think I don't know something. I think he said the word in it at the end, so Elizabeth Heretics could probably be able to translate whatever he said. Because I speak English over here. And by English, I mean American. All right, what is going on? Apple user 6859387. Oh.
Hello.
Hey, how you got?
Hi.
How's it going?
Sorry.
What you got?
It's great. I've never done this before, so how do these things usually work? I tell you why I believe in Jesus and Paul.
Yeah, you can either explain why you believe that Jesus and Paul existed 2,000 years ago in Judea, or you can ask me why I don't think that they did, or I say that they didn't. Yeah, either way.
Okay, so what is your background? Tell me that first.
I believe it's cool gray. I believe that is the name of the paint. It's
No, I'm
it's kind
sorry.
of textured.
No, I meant like where did you get the thoughts that Jesus and Paul didn't they were not live, like they're a figment of our imaginations? What brought you to that conclusion?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the fact that even the natural versions as presented by the New Testament, the Quran, and the Book of Mormon, and everything like that, are based off of stories that don't line up with the archaeology or geography or just what we know from contemporaries and history of the time there in early first century Judea.
So let me just say, you are taking the Quran and the Book of Mormon and trying to tie it to the Bible.
What I'm saying is that the natural Jesus that's presented in all three of those books. The New Testament presents Jesus, and then the Quran is like an offshoot of Christianity, or Islam is an offshoot of Christianity, Mormonism is an offshoot of Christianity.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that just kind of like...
No, but see, I totally disagree with that.
What are you talking about?
Because if you look at the Bible, and don't ask me scriptures and stuff, I'm not good at that. But in the New Testament, it says, if any gives you something other than what's in this book, don't believe them, which would throw
What
out
book do
the
you
Book
think?
of Mormon.
No. So
Yes.
that verse that you're talking about is explicitly talking about the book of Apocalypse or Revelation.
No.
Yep,
No, think about it.
I am.
First of all, if an angel comes to you and tells you something different, and that's what the Book of Mormon does. Okay, in the Quran, let me be honest, I'm not authority on the Quran or the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
I can just tell you what I've heard people talk about, because I've never read the Quran, I've never read the Book of Mormon, but I can focus on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the thing. The reason why I believe that Jesus is real is because I've had too many encounters with Jesus that my life is different than it would have been if I would
Like physically with Jesus?
Yes. Well, have I ever seen him? No, but I felt his presence. He's healed me in certain parts of my life. He's put me in my job where I'm at. Like all these things.
How do you know that wasn't just you? If you never saw him physically.
Okay, because I've done my life in the world's way, and it went to hell in a handbasket, and then I've done my life with Jesus, and it's so much better.
Why are you like self-deprecating so much? Just accept the fact that you were able to like bring yourself out of like what sounds like poverty or something like that. Like congratulate, you did it. Like that's a good job.
I did it, but I did it with God's help.
Whatever. It didn't really matter. But I mean, nevertheless, you did it. So I'm glad that you're at least acknowledged that you did it. But regardless, we're not talking about Jesus today. If you think that Jesus exists today, that's great. If you think that he healed you, got you a job, finger blasted you into oblivion yesterday, I don't care. I'm just talking about whether or not Jesus existed 2,000 years ago.
Well, if he existed today, how could he not exist 2,000 years ago? That makes no sense.
Do you have a sibling?
Absolutely.
If you introduced me to your sibling, I would accept the fact that your sibling is standing right in front of me. And I would be like, okay, that is Apple user 6859387's sibling. All right?
Right.
But then if you told me my sibling existed 2,000 years ago, and I'd say, what? You're going to have to give me some different evidence. You'd be like, well, I mean, if they exist right here and you accept that they're right here, how would you deny that they were around 2,000 years ago? What are you talking about? Those are two very different things. I can absolutely accept that, you think that Jesus is real. You felt some kind of weird presence or whatever. I'll accept that. But that doesn't mean that he was walking physically in Judea 2,000 years ago. How did you get to that part?
Well, one, he can talk to you. 2,000 years ago.
Have you heard his voice?
Yep.
Okay. So what does he sound like?
He sounds like yourself.
That
That's a
sounds
bright
like you have schizophrenia.
No. But I understand why you said it because I do work at a hospital.
So Jesus sounds like an American woman?
No. No.
So what did he sound like?
Yeah, it's this quiet. Some people like to call it intuition or whatever. But he just. It's
That's
like-
just your head. Yeah, I thought you said you heard his voice.
You do.
That's not
But
intuition.
here's the thing.
I've never been like, you know what? I was talking to my
Okay,
friend the
question.
other day, or maybe it was just my own intuition.
Have you ever prayed to anything?
Yeah.
Who do you pray to?
You know what? Fuck it. Yahweh.
Okay, Yahweh would be the Christian God.
Sometimes.
Okay, but well, if you say sometimes, what else could he be?
Well, he told me that Christians suck.
That's not Yahweh.
Yeah, it is. How do you know? You didn't hear him.
Yeah, but Yahweh would never say that contrary to his word.
Yahweh, he would.
Maybe Yahweh does.
My
But the
Yahweh?
true Yahweh-
Oh, there's multiple Yahwehs. Okay. So there we go. And also, you're touching on something that is entirely my point. This is all just stuff in your head. It's just yourself. So again, big props to you
No.
for bringing yourself out of poverty.
Thank you, but it wasn't just me.
It was.
But hey,
It's just
here's
you
the
just
thing.
don't want to call it that.
No,
Yep.
because that would be like Nebuchadnezzar saying, "Look at all what I did."
What did you call me?
In the Old Testament, there was Nebuchadnezzar.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. All right.
Okay.
So, what was your evidence that Jesus or Paul existed 2,000 years ago?
Well, did you know? Well, never mind, because that wouldn't be Jesus. That would be the river, the old sea, Red Sea. They proved that parted. My evidence is
No, they didn't. But whatever.
okay. Well, here's the thing. I understand. Thank you so much for letting me talk and this being my first time on anything like this.
Yeah, not a problem. You got the floor.
I can't bring anything as far as what you would believe as legal evidence that he
Legal
exists.
evidence? And what kind of illegal evidence do you have?
I don't have illegal evidence either.
You're smoking
It's
enough of
okay.
this stuff and you end up seeing Jesus. Yeah, okay, listen. How do you know that he existed 2,000 years ago? Just tell me the evidence that convinced
in the
you that he
Bible.
existed.
I
Okay, cool.
believe
All
in
right,
the
all right.
Bible.
And
Not
what
the Quran,
what helps
not
you?
the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, that's fine. It's whatever. But what in the Bible? How did you determine that was historically reliable?
Because you could take and read any book of the verse, right? Any verse in the Bible, and it can speak to me one way, and it can speak to you another way.
That doesn't sound like it's
Okay.
very clear then. You think that
No,
comes
no.
from the person who's not the author of the confusion? Anyways, how did you determine that the Bible was historically accurate when talking about Jesus?
Because have you ever used the Bible to pray for things, and God gives you that?
That doesn't mean that it existed 2,000 years ago. I'm trying to figure out whether or not
Well,
the
how
story
can
is
it
true.
not- but how can he not exist if the Bible is true?
I'm trying to ask you how you know it's true, like when it talks about history.
But no matter what I say to you, you're going to
You're not
obviously go
saying
to
really
another.
anything about it. You keep talking about how it pertains to you today. I don't care. How did you establish that when it says this happened 2,000 years ago, that actually happened 2,000 years ago? How did you
Because
determine
the Bible
that?
never changes.
What do you mean it never changes? It contradicts itself.
Okay, tell me how it contradicts itself.
Okay. What day was Jesus crucified on?
Supposedly a Friday.
Okay, not a problem. Do you have any idea about what John 19 says?
Tell me what John 19 says.
Sounds good. All right. So, John 19, we're going to go ahead and pull this up here. John 19, it says, let's see, right here in verse 13, it says, when Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus outside and sat on the judge's bench at the place called the Stone Pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now, it was the day of preparation for the Passover, and it was about noon. He said to the Jews, here's your king. They cried out, away with him, crucify him, blah, 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 blah. Verse 16, then he handed him over to be crucified. Point is, this is about noon, right? So Jesus is alive at noon on Friday, correct?
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Listening.
Sounds good. Well, unfortunately, if we just scroll up here and we're going to go to Mark 15. In Mark 15, verse 25, it explicitly says, it was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. So I'm going to ask you, is it possible to be crucified at 9 a.m. and then remember your court date 3 hours later and just Just pop down and then go to court?
Wait a minute, you were John what a minute ago?
John 19.
What verse?
I mean, you already read it and you said it
No, I
was
didn't
noon
read
when
it.
he was alive. You agreed with that.
No, but I didn't read it. I was listening to you because I didn't expect you to say no.
So you just agree with people when they say things and you don't actually look into it? Is that what you're admitting?
No,
Well, then why'd you agree that it was noon?
because I'm reading John 10:19, and I don't see what
I
you're
didn't say
saying.
10:19. I
What'd you
didn't
say?
say anything that sounded like that. All right. So let me go ahead and just pull them both up here. Let's see. John
No,
19.
I got my Bible out. So
Sounds
I
good.
wanted
So John 19, it's going to be in verse 14. John 19:14. Go ahead and go to that verse.
I'm going there. Okay, John 19.
John 19:14. Go ahead and read that verse in your version of the Bible just to make sure that, there's no funny business or anything like that.
Well, that one says the 6th hour, which will be 6 a.m.
You think
And they
this,
cried out for the
so you think
Yep.
that what version of the Bible are you reading? Are you reading King James version?
New King James Version.
Okay. So the 6th hour. 6th hour then. Okay. I'll take
And
6th hour.
Mark, okay, then Mark was what?
We'll go with 6th hour. And then in Mark 15:25. Mark 15:25. What does it say there? Go ahead and read that. Who? Not Mike.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
It says in the 3rd hour they crucified him.
Ooh. What comes first? 3 or 6?
Hold up.
What comes first? 3 or 6?
No, because see, in the 6th, okay. Hold up.
Uh-oh.
No,
Here
no,
comes
no,
the
no.
cognitive dissonance, everybody. Here it comes.
Because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are from 4 perspectives.
Well, we're only taking a look at 2 of them, so
And I find it interesting that you take that.
I find it interesting that you can't count because 3 comes before 6 in literally every single math textbook I've ever read.
I find it interesting that you like to insult people when they don't agree with you.
All right. Well, do you disagree that 3 comes before 6? You disagree with that statement?
No, of course not.
Okay. Well, then why is it taking you so long to realize that Jesus can't be crucified at the 3rd hour and still in court alive at the 6th?
It's not that I cannot disagree with that or agree with that. I'm
Okay.
trying.
Well,
Sometimes
do you
have
think
to
that that
really-
is possible? Do you think that you can be crucified at the 3rd hour and then alive in court in the 6th hour? And then crucified again? You think you got crucified twice or something?
Sometimes I think you have to read above the context, and that's what I was trying to do.
What
to see
context
there was
makes the 3rd hour after the 6th hour?
to see what was being said before that.
And that suddenly changes the time?
No, it doesn't change the time. but it
Okay,
gives
then I
another
don't see what
perspective.
context you need to see that the 3rd hour comes before the 6th hour.
Okay, whatever you say.
Well, again, you read it. You read it in your version. I read my version, which translates the 6th hour to noon because they're actually counting from dawn, because that's when you would actually be able to use sundials and stuff. And then the 3rd hour, that translates it to 9 a.m. because, again, they're counting from dawn, so roughly 6. So regardless, it doesn't make any difference. In Mark, it says that he is crucified 3 hours before he's still in court in John.
Okay.
This is a contradiction. Do you realize that?
Nope.
Oh my God.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
So how do you not recognize that this is a contradiction?
I understand that this is what you think, and I understand by based
No,
on those two.
it's not what I think. I have just read the book. I didn't add anything to
took-
the text.
You took 2 scriptures, and
Yes.
you're like, oh,
and that
doesn't make
contradict
sense.
each other. Yes. And I said that's a contradiction. Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a contradiction then, right?
I can't agree with that. 'cause
You
I
can't
haven't
agree
read
with it?
above Nope.
Okay, so what above it is going to suddenly change the third hour to some other time?
It's not. It doesn't have to do with the hour.
It
has
does,
to do with
because
what's
that's the
being said.
contradiction.
Okay, and you're by what you said, then what you said and how you present it, that would be true in that case. But
Do you think
again,
there's another case where you can be crucified in the third hour and still alive in the sixth hour? In court? Off the cross? And then get crucified again after that? Do you think there's some
No, but I
version
think
of the
there's
text
another
that you're going to read where you're like, oh,
No.
that's how Jesus came down off the cross?
Jesus never came down off the cross. They took him off.
Well, then I guess this is a contradiction in every single way that you could possibly look at it, correct?
Okay, well, let's go on the premises that Jesus died on the cross, regardless of the hour.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you here. This
don't
this
know
is
what to
only
tell you.
one contradiction. There are multiple in the text. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you're
I
having a
know what to
hard
tell
time with this one, oh, it's gonna get worse.
No, it won't.
I mean, it
Because
will.
No, because you won't change my mind just like I won't change your mind or anyone else's mind that doesn't want to be changed.
So you've made up your mind that the third hour comes after the sixth hour, and I can't change your mind on that. Is that
I
what you're saying?
don't. No, I don't focus on the hour. I
Oh,
focus
okay.
on
Well,
the-
that was what we were focusing on because that's the contradiction.
Again, you're taking two scriptures. I
That
don't know
contradict
what's
each
going
other.
on.
Yes.
On this, what you just said, I can see what you're saying.
Okay. So you can see
But
how
it's
it's a
not gonna
contradiction then, is what you're saying.
No.
Oh, you can't. Okay. So
I
what are
can
you
see how
struggling
you
with?
Would say it's I can see how you could say it's a contradiction.
Okay.
But again, sometimes I know you have to read above it to understand what one verse says.
Yeah. Normally, when it's as explicit as, let's see, Mark 15:25, when it says it was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him, sometimes I have to read above it to see that it actually was not 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. Sometimes, those pesky like verses that you read right above it that says this is the exact opposite of what this is saying. Whenever you read the Bible and a verse just completely flips around.
No, I'm just listening to you.
It's
I
a
mean, I don't-
contradiction, right?
No.
Okay. So we're going to try this one more time. What time did they crucify Jesus? Was it afternoon or was it at 9 o'clock?
That one says 9, but you don't have to do that. You've already proved your point on that.
I don't
part.
think so because you're still trying to say that it's not a contradiction. What
No, I
time was
see
he
what
crucified?
I
Was it at
said
9
that
a.m.?
Based on those 2 points, yes, you could see where it's a contradiction, but I said you have to go up above it to sometimes
Okay.
understand what's being
Okay, that's
said.
fine. That's fine.
We
What
don't
time was he
have time.
crucified? Was it afternoon or was it 9 a.m.? What
Well,
time?
by that scripture says 9 a.m.
Okay. So in John, he was crucified at 9 a.m., but then he was in court at noon, like it says in John 19. Is that correct?
From what you're saying, yes.
Okay. So really quick, just making sure here. So let's see. Let's go ahead and read those verses that are right above it. So it was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. So right up here, it says that they compelled a passerby. This is in verse 21, so it's above this verse here about 9 o'clock. So it says, they compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha. Okay, sweet. So we're actually going to take a look at that. Now, in John 19, it says, away with him, and this is after noon. It says he handed him over Pilate. Then Pilate handed him over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus and carrying a cross by himself, because, fuck Simon, right? It says he went out to the place called the Skull, which is in Hebrew called Golgotha. So in other words, they had Jesus carry the cross, but then he couldn't do it because, he's a little wimp. So they decide to go ahead and make Simon carry it. So Simon carries it, he puts him up, and then they crucify him at 9 a.m. And then at some point in time, he comes down off the cross, goes back to court, and then he says, hey, should I crucify this guy? And they say yes. And so then they make him carry it, and Simon's, I guess he's long gone. He's like, I'm not carrying that shit again. And so they go ahead and crucify him again. So he's crucified twice. Is that correct?
Okay, so Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are accounts from 4 people who's telling it from their perspective.
All
And
right.
Jesus-
So
if
in
you-
what
if you were with-
perspective? says
Okay.
he's crucified at 9 a.m. and the other one is like, well, I looked up, the sun was in the middle of the sky.
Okay.
So that was
Let
about
me
noon.
address it. So before
Really
you call
quick,
Jesus,
what perspective says, hey, at noon, Jesus is in court and very clearly with Pilate and everything like that. And the other one says, hey, at noon, it was fucking dark. Like, there was no sun.
yeah.
I need you to understand that this is the contradiction. Why are you having such a hard time with this? It's your Bible absolutely makes mistakes and makes a ton of them. We are struggling on one of them.
But so what someone said earlier, if you take and look at the Bible, right, we know it was not written in English, it's not the first language.
Right. That's why they had to translate 6th hour to noon, because 6th hour or sexta hora, what that means is it means the 6th hour of the day since they started counting at dawn, which roughly was about 6 a.m. or so.
We agreed on what the 6 a.m. was.
You sure?
Yes.
So we agree on when they start counting. We agree on what these times mean and stuff like that. I guess it really doesn't matter what language you read it in. It doesn't really matter what translation you read it in. It's still going to say in Mark that he's crucified 3 hours before John says he's alive in court. That is my point. It doesn't matter what language. It doesn't matter what English translation. It doesn't matter what the verses before it or after it say. It is a contradiction. That's what it is. I don't know how to tell you any other way than straight, flat out, it is a contradiction, and you trying to deny it is just you trying to somehow defend something that you cannot defend, and you know you can't defend it.
No, I said based on what that part was, I could see your point. Okay, but whenever I try to say something like it was, never mind.
Now go ahead. You have the floor.
Because no, it's not about having the floor. It's about you and I both have the belief system that we have.
It's not a belief
You're
system.
not
I
gonna
read
claim
the
to be-
book. I didn't interpret it. I read the book to you. I didn't add anything to the verse. I didn't translate it into the way. In fact, I even let you read your version instead of the one that I have, which is the one that's used in seminaries and universities, by the way. It's the NRSVU. I read this one. You read the New King James Version. You read your favorite translation of it, and it's still contradicted. It is not. It's not my interpretation. It's not my viewpoint. It's not my belief. It's not the way that I just read this passage. In fact, I even, against what I probably should have done, I read around the verse 2 to show you that it doesn't change anything. I don't know how to explain to a grown human being any other way that this is absolutely a contradiction. You've just never seen it before. And so you're trying to rationalize it in your head. And I understand that that's painful. But this is a contradiction. You just saying no, your lack of understanding of it is not a valid argument against it.
No, it's not that my lack of understanding is. My understanding is, and what I was trying to say to you is, I'm not going to win with you.
Correct.
And I know, and you're not going to win with me.
Well, that's just because you're just a stick in the mud who doesn't want to read the actual words in their Bible.
But see, I don't insult you, but yet you insult me.
You're not even reading the words in your Bible and trusting them as they're saying it. I mean,
But see, I
if you
do-
want to go ahead and toss both of them out, then that's perfectly fine. If you want to go to the next contradiction, I will gladly lead
Fine,
you
go
to the next contradiction.
Go to the next contradiction.
All right. At what time, you know what? What happens right after Jesus is born? Does he go to Jerusalem or does he go to Egypt?
They leave Nazareth and go to Jerusalem, right?
He wasn't born in Nazareth,
That's why he was called Jesus of Nazareth. He went, where was he born at?
Bethlehem.
Yeah, Bethlehem, I remember. Okay.
So where do they go from Bethlehem? Did they go to Jerusalem or did they go to Egypt?
Are you going to tell me Egypt?
I'm going to show you verses that say both of them. So which one would you like to choose?
Just go ahead and state your point.
So which one is true?
I'm sure one verse is going to say one and one chapter is going to say the other.
You know what they call those things?
Contradictions.
Yes, you got it. That's correct. That's correct. I'm not even going to make fun of you for that. That is correct. They call those contradictions because that contradicts. That's not the same story. So the New Testament, yet again, it contradicts itself. This is a known fact that it contradicts itself. The only people who say that it doesn't is just like pastors and preachers who really, really, really want you to trust every word for no good reason.
No, pastors, they tell you. Well, the churches I've been to, they tell you to check the word. Don't just go by them.
You think
have
that
to
the
say this.
pastors, so the pastors you listen to tell you that there's contradictions?
No, they tell you read the word for yourself too.
All right. And when you read the word and it contradicts itself, what do they tell you to do then? I mean, they'll tell you read the word because they want you to trust the word whenever it says something. But they don't acknowledge that sometimes it says something that contradicts itself. They don't acknowledge that part. They tell you to read the book because they want you to read the book. But they haven't actually read it enough to understand that there's problems in it. That's the problem. That's the issue that we're having.
Uh-huh.
In Matthew 2, it says that Jesus is born during the reign of King Herod. And it says that King Herod ends up he talks to the Magi and everything like that. And he says, go and search diligently for the child. And when you have found them, bring me word so that I may go also and pay him homage. All right. So they go there and everything, and they give him all the gold and frankincense and myrrh, blah, 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 blah. And then it says, after being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country and went another route. So they go over there. Now, the angel of the Lord shows up and tells Joseph in Bethlehem to leave. It says, get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt. Remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him. All right? So he goes to Egypt from Bethlehem, takes him down there, and then Herod goes and unalives a whole bunch of kids there in Bethlehem. Then they have to wait to get out of Egypt later on after Herod dies. But in Luke 2, what happens is they go down to Bethlehem and for the purpose of a census. And by the way, this census is a census that we know about, and it happens 10 years after Herod the Great died. 10 years after King Herod died is when we get the census. So already, now this is something that you'd have to understand from like history, but there's already a contradiction because it's a 10-year gap. It's saying that Jesus is born 10 years earlier in Matthew than it says that Luke, says he's born in. Like when he says he's born in.
You know, I have to say this. I have never heard anyone go so hard on the time or what you're about to go hard. Never.
That's because you've only listened to people who glaze the Bible and try to push a religion without actually critically thinking about it.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Totally off the topic of what you're saying. Have you ever heard of the prophetic?
What?
The prophetic movement.
Like prophets or something? Sure, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Have you ever heard of it?
Prophets? Yeah, I've heard of prophets.
Yeah.
Unless
Okay.
this is some specific thing.
No, do you still believe? Okay. So if Jesus doesn't exist, then people who are prophets don't live today, right?
What does that have to do with, what does one have to do with the other one here?
Okay, so based on that premises, if Jesus wasn't real, if Jesus didn't die, then he couldn't send his Holy Spirit, right?
I mean, the only time you get any kind of talk about Holy Spirit, well, technically speaking, there's some other stuff in there too, but it doesn't really matter. Sure, why not?
Okay, right. So if you have so then how could people know what's going to happen before it happens? How can people know about your life?
If
I'm not
Jesus
talking
didn't
about
exist to
prophets.
send his Holy Spirit, then how are there prophets in the Old Testament?
No, well, the prophets are in the Old Testament, but there's
Sweet,
also
but there's prophets in the Old Testament, and Jesus hadn't sent his Holy Spirit yet. So I guess there's your answer. So anyways,
No,
yeah.
no. That's
what?
not what I'm saying.
All right. You're trying to ask, how are there prophets today if Jesus didn't send his Holy Spirit? But Jesus hadn't sent his Holy
Jesus
Spirit
had to
whenever
die
Isaiah was
first.
rocking around, but you think Isaiah was a prophet, so I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
What did you just say?
You think Isaiah was a prophet, and
was.
Jesus hadn't sent his Holy Spirit yet when Isaiah was a prophet, so I guess it doesn't matter if Jesus sent his Holy Spirit then. You can still have a
Maybe it
prophet
doesn't
without
matter
it.
to you. No,
What?
no, because in the
Do you
New
think
Testament,
do you
God
think
gives you-
Isaiah, when did Jesus send his Holy Spirit? Was it in the New Testament or the Old Testament?
New Testament?
Okay, sweet. Were there prophets before that?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess you can be a prophet without the Holy Spirit then. Boom, done. Move on.
No. Do you believe?
Jesus
Do you
Christ.
believe in evidence of speaking in tongues?
What? Okay, no, there's none of that. No, you're just talking about
can
more.
do it.
No,
No,
awesome.
I can do it. But my point is,
Go ahead and do it for us then.
you want me to speak in tongues?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, everybody already thinks you're crazy. Go ahead.
I know. That's why you still have me on live.
Yep. At this point, it's just,
See, did it.
I don't even know what language that was. And according to the New
Me neither. Isn't
Testament,
it awesome?
according to the New Testament, the way that speaking in tongues works is everyone understands you. So congratulations, you just proved yourself to not even read your own Bible.
Nope. I just disagreed because now we can debate on that one.
No,
You
because
speak
it says explicitly in the New Testament that people were able to understand them. And the fact that no one has any fucking clue what you just said shows that you just kind of made sounds come out of your mouth that just was gibberish
But
as
how
opposed to
can-
actually speaking in tongues. So congratulations. You're wrong in like 3 different languages, at least. And one of them is gibberish.
So have you ever noticed that if someone's, so as long as you're controlling the conversation and you're winning, then you're great. But as soon as someone starts challenging you on something that you don't understand, you come in and attack. So
Yeah,
here's the
so
thing.
it seems like you have a tenuous grasp on the New Testament. I understand this a lot better than you do, and it doesn't sound like
No,
I'm
you
going to
don't.
lose this at all.
You're spiritually dead.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, so do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul, or did you want me to continue on with this contradiction?
Like I was saying, as far as speaking in tongues goes,
Mm-hmm.
you have yes. If you're in a room full of people in a church setting, yes, someone should interpret.
Yeah, that's how that works. It's because it's nonsense, and then you have to leave it up to the person who's interpreting to just kind of make it up as they go along. And then the first
No.
person goes, "Yeah, sure, that's exactly what they said."
No, have you ever been in a church that you've heard it?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
It was a bunch of nonsense, and I was very confused as to why this is even something that people are trying to say is from the New Testament, because they didn't read the New Testament. The New Testament very clearly states that speaking in tongues is just simply them saying something in their native tongue and everyone can understand it. It's kind of a reversal of the Tower of Babel. That's the point. However, what you hear today, or what most people say is speaking in tongues, is all that kind of stuff, is just absolutely stupid. It's moronic, and anybody who thinks that that is real very clearly hasn't read their own Bible. And I mean, considering the fact that you didn't even know about certain contradictions in here means that you either haven't read the Bible or you've only read selected portions that a preacher or pastor told you to read, and you just kind of focused on those. You've never actually looked
No,
at this
I wouldn't.
critically.
I would never focus on a 3 and a 6 because I believe Jesus died on the cross.
Sweet.
But-
Awesome. So did you also focus on like when it says that Jesus was born and what he did afterwards? Because that's the contradiction that we're on now.
I have not focused on the point of view like you've done it.
Well, it makes sense
No.
that you haven't focused on me because you just met me. But that being said, in
No, I
Luke,
said
it says
focus
that
on what
Jesus
you
was
said.
born in Bethlehem. And then it says at 8 days old, it says that he goes to, it says when the 8th day came, it was time to circumcise the child. That's done in Jerusalem. And he was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. When the time came for their purification according to the law of Moses. And what this is because Mary had given birth, at 30 days, she has to go to the temple for purification rites. So it sounds like at 30 days old, they're in Jerusalem, which is where the king is if this is still at the time of King of Herod. That being said, it says they brought him up to Jerusalem, explicitly tells him. It tells you that it does it to present him to the Lord. There's a bunch of singing and dancing. I'm not even fucking kidding you. And then finally it says, when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. So when did they go to Egypt?
Whatever you say.
I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I know.
Do you recognize that there are contradictions in this book?
I recognize the way you're pointing it out, that then yes, there would be
Then
contradictions.
please explain to me another way to look at it.
I can't. You win.
Okay, it's not about winning and losing. It is simply about understanding that this book is a fictional book talking about a mythology, and they're just kind of telling a story, and they're not actually telling you a real thing that actually happened. It's just a story. Now, I listen, please, just listen. For the first time, I know that you've heard me talk, but please listen. I care about you, and I care about how this is actually interpreted or how this is actually read because of the fact that it matters to people. You believe wholeheartedly that the only reason that you have pulled yourself out of a bad place in your life is because of some person that's a myth from this story. You did that yourself. You can pat yourself on the back. It's okay. You did that. You're a great person on your own. It is okay. It is okay. Now, sure, did you kind of allow for this religion to kind of cast all your kind of problems onto it or whatever so that you didn't have to worry about them? Sure. But look back at what you did. You're a badass. You actually made it out of that. That's really good. You don't need this. It's fine. You made it out of all that stuff without Jesus being a real person. You did that. So you can do it again. If you have hard times in your life, you can make it through. It is okay. You're fine. You are okay.
I appreciate
You're fine.
that.
So listen. Please focus on what you actually have evidence for, because we benefit as a society and as individuals when we believe things with actual evidence behind it. When we believe as many true things as possible and stop believing as many false things as possible, we benefit. That is a good thing.
Yeah, I understand your point. Oh, and by the way, I'm reading these comments for the first time. You didn't break me. And it's like I can't believe. Anyway,
Don't worry about
here's
the
the thing.
comments. They're going to say all kinds of stuff. I have no
I
idea
know,
who said
I
that
know.
I broke.
I
I'm not
know.
looking to break you. I'm looking to explain to you that this is a myth and you've been fine the entire time.
No, but see, here's the thing. If you look, you're trying, and I understand what you're trying to do, and I understand that what you believe is, you're so passionate about it, and I can appreciate that. But I also know that there's a saying, I don't know if anybody's ever heard it, but it says when you work, how does it go? When you work the word of God, the word of God works. And I have prayed the word of God over my life. And there's situations where it's worked. So let me ask you a question. I'm gonna get personal for a minute. How many people have ever had a miscarriage, but they knew that it was going to happen before it happened, but then you knew you were going to get pregnant again, and it was going to be a boy?
I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be a boy or a girl. I mean, it's just kind of how
No,
math
but see,
works.
I prayed.
I
No, I
understand.
prayed.
I understand. But I
But
mean,
That's just one of them.
life sucks. There are terrible things that happen to all of us, even the people that we
Right.
look to and we're like, man, they've got it all together. No, life fucking sucks, and there's going to be times where bad things happen to you. Absolutely. And I hate that it did happen. I hate that. I absolutely don't want you to have to go through a whole bunch of bad things. Now,
No.
but that being said, knowing ahead of time that you would get pregnant again and that it would be a boy, especially if you're trying or if you're wanting to be pregnant, chances are there's going to be a time where you might end up getting pregnant. That's just kind of how it works. Sex leads to pregnancy, generally. I mean, or at least
Right.
quite a bit. Now, if
I've
you
never
were to
been
tell me,
pregnant
if you were
without
to tell
wanting
me
to.
that you ended up with a miscarriage, which I'm sorry that you went through, that's an awful experience. And now I personally haven't gone through that, but I understand.
You're a man.
But
Can't
that,
be
yeah,
pregnant.
that being said, if you had told me that you went through that and then you ended up having a baby later on, like a virgin birth or something without having sex, that would be baffling to me. But it sounds like you probably tried to procreate and you ended up procreating. So, I mean, that's kind of how it works. And 50-50 shot, it's going to be a boy. So, I mean, what if it had been a girl? What if it had been a girl? Would you say that, oh, well, you'd probably just, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but I'm saying if it had been a girl, that you probably would have said, oh, well, God had other plans. And it's okay. But if it's a boy, you say, oh, God answered my prayers. You're just heaping all of this success, all of these good things onto God for no reason. You're doing the thing. God isn't having sex for you.
Okay, so
You're the one who's having to go through it.
Look,
He didn't carry the baby for 10 months. He didn't have morning sickness. He didn't crave dirt and peanut butter and pickles. That's what my wife
I
craves.
can only
But like
tell
that's
you my
come on.
experience. Listen,
Stop giving it to
but-
Jesus and God. Stop giving them all the praise. You did it. You
can't,
did it,
because
woman.
In the dream, the baby's name was Thomas, and Thomas means divine twin.
It doesn't mean
Right.
divine twin, it just means twin. It's Didymus. It just means twin.
Okay, fine. It means twin, whatever. But 9 months to the day that baby was supposed to be born, I found myself in church praising God. And you know that spirit of grief lifted off of my life?
What does this have to do with Thomas?
Because I named my son Thomas, was his middle name.
Was he a twin?
Because it means twin? No, but I believe that
What was all that about? You've completely
meant
bought
that he's
into the
coming.
religion part.
no, it meant for me, I took it that God's good and the next baby I have would be a boy.
What does that have to do with Thomas? What were you trying to
Because
say?
of what Thomas means. Because in the dream, the baby's name was Thomas.
Okay, what if it had been Bartholomew? Would you call him Bartholomew?
It wouldn't have been that. Because I believe that names mean something.
Okay, was he a twin?
No.
Girl.
Hey, what was that music for?
Come on. Come on. Do you understand what's going on here? Do you understand that you are giving a lot of the good things that you have accomplished in life, just you're handing it over to religion just cuz. I don't know why. Like, you're doing that. It's you. You're okay. You did it. Keep going. Keep being cool.
But here's the thing. Like, if you want to debate, like, the time and hour, yeah, you got me.
The what?
I can't do that. When you're, with
the talent or something?
conversations,
Yeah.
with the times,
Oh.
like the 3 or the 6.
Oh, the time.
Bethlehem, Egypt. Okay, you got me. You're gonna win. But if I can tell you, like, these are my personal encounters with Christ, then you can't tell me such a, you know what I'm saying? Because these are my experiences, and this is why I praise God. This is why you're not going to change me. I mean, if you want to listen, I will say this. I appreciate you. I really do. I thank you for your kindness. If you want to talk to someone else who can be a better debater than me, because I'm not a debater, I'm good with that. I wish you all the best. I don't want to waste your time or anybody else's. How about that?
All right.
But thank you for taking the time.
We will move on. Thank you for coming up. The only thing
thank
I
you
want to
for
say
having me.
is please think about why you believe something or why you're doing something, and if there's not a good reason behind it, maybe consider not doing it or believing it. Think about why you believe something. Try to believe true things, okay?
And I always say to you, try to believe things that you can't see or understand.
That's literally what ends up with people. That's how we end up with Mango Mussolini in power. Believing things that we can't understand or don't see. Like someone saying, oh, hey, this is actually what's going on, and we just blindly believe it. That's not a good practice. You're telling me to have blind faith in things. That is not good. That's how we end up with Mormonism. That's how we end up with Scientology. That's how we end up with Christianity. But I mean, I understand that you don't want to hear that, but that's how we end up with different religions.
I appreciate what you are trying to say.
I mean,
I believe.
do you understand that the Mormons have faith?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're correct, that Joseph Smith was a true prophet and that he translated the golden plates that he found in his backyard in the 1820s in upstate New York?
No, I don't believe that.
All right. Well, that means that faith is not always a pathway to truth. Faith is not going to get you there. What's going to get you there is evidence. The reason that they have faith and you have faith, and the only real way to determine whose faith is better is if there is actual evidence behind it. I agree with you. The Mormons are crazy. That never happened. But you know how I know that never happened? Because there's no evidence behind it. In fact, there's actual evidence to the contrary. There's contradictions in their texts. This is why that's a problem. That's why. But anyways.
Yeah, but anyway.
Thank you for coming
Wow.
out. Thank you for coming out.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So I want to move on to some other people. Kesh says in the chat he's Exmo. Really? Do I look Mormon to you? Actually, don't answer that question. Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question. Okay. What is going on, Chris?
Hi, so I'm younger than you, obviously.
What the hell? What on earth was that all about?
Bitch. Is my mic acting up or what?
No. I heard you. That's kind of the problem.
Oh,
Okay. I want to do this in good faith, right? I don't want to turn. I don't want to.
So coming up here and being like, "Hey, what's up, oldie locks?" You just decide.
That's
Anyways, what's going on? What's going on?
So the caption I see is Jesus and Paul never existed. Prove us wrong, right?
Yeah.
So is your disagreement with the idea that a Jewish man named Jesus of Nazareth existed in the first century?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you disagree with that whole?
Yeah. Nazareth isn't even a place before 70.
Okay. So you're disagreeing with, and I mean this in good faith, but you're disagreeing with the majority of modern scholars. So like, I know, but I feel like the burden of proof is on you. So
Sure.
I want to hear your explanation as to why, and then I'd like to respond.
Yeah, because the natural Jesus and Paul as presented by the New Testament did not exist. We see the supernatural stories coming from prior sources. We see the natural stories getting lifted from prior influences like Josephus' Wars of the Jews, Antiquities of the Jews, against Appian, and even his autobiography, which was published in 99. We see things also being lifted for the natural stories from like poetry from the Old Testament. That's why a lot of people look back and they say, oh, hey, this is a prophecy or something like that. That's because it was being used, the Septuagint version, by the way, to start talking about some of the natural things that happens to Jesus. We also see some of the teachings being lifted from prior sources, like in the Catholic Bible. You can actually run across a book called The Wisdom of Sirach, sometimes known as Ecclesiasticus. It was written in Hebrew in the early 2nd century BCE and translated by the author's grandson into Greek in the late 2nd century BCE. His name, by the way, is Jesus. Jesus ben Sirach is the original author of that text, and Jesus in the New Testament actually echoes some of the teachings, a few of the teachings, and there's actually a string of 6 words in a row in the Greek that come directly from the Wisdom of Sirach, the Greek version. So the point is we can see the pieces coming together to form this narrative. On top of all of this, the Gospels are presented in third-person omniscient, where you're able to hear behind walls. Nowhere in the Gospels does the author actually say, I saw this, or even I was alive at the same time as this. There's anachronisms. There are elements in the story that do not line up with what we know from the first century as far as geography, archaeology, contemporaries of the time, Jewish theology, that kind of thing.
Okay. So your argument is that the information within the Gospels, right, is lifted from other sources?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So outside of the Gospels, right? So let's just take a historical approach to this rather than the biblical one. Do you agree that Pontius Pilate existed as a person?
Yes. We have 2 contemporaries of him who talk about him in Josephus as well as Philo of Alexandria. Interestingly enough, we also have the Pilate stone, which dates to the 1st century and bears his name and his government position, which is prefect. That'll come in handy as we continue on this conversation, but he's a prefect of Judea. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I don't... You know a lot more than this than me, so I don't really have a lot of argument.
Keep going.
I'll let someone else...
No, you're fine. Keep going.
You're
perfectly fine. Keep going. What you got? So yes, I do understand that Pilate existed. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I forget his name. There was a Roman historian.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know his name. Who did mention in the 2nd century that he ordered the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Okay, what did I say Pilate's position was?
A prefect.
Yes, that's exactly why I wanted to hammer that down, because I knew that you were going to go with Tacitus, who is what you're talking about. Writing in about 116, he writes his book Annals. You were referring to book 15 of Annals, section 44. Is this correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this text, we see in at least the version that we have today, based off of the oldest manuscript that we have, which dates to the 11th century, we see that Pontius Pilate is called a procurator. That's weird because Tacitus does know the difference between a prefect and a procurator. He actually explains it before section 44 of book 15. A procurator is someone who's in charge of money, while a prefect has a military backing. Because a procurator is used whenever the colonies actually adopted all the way into the Roman Empire. Judea, unfortunately, did not have a procurator until the decade after Pilate was dismissed in 36. So already there should be some red flags. The rest of that passage there, we'll pull it up right now, but there's another section, or right before it, it says Christus instead of Jesus, which would be weird because Christ would not be on any kind of crucifixion record or arrest record. That's very strange. They would have used the name Yeshua or Yehoshua or the Greek or Latin variant. At best, they would say Jesus who was called Christ or something like that, or who they called Christ. So yeah, and on top of that, it says that Christ is where the Christians got their name. I say Christians because that's in the oldest version of the text of Annals. It says Christians with an E, not Christians with an I. And this word is actually found in an inscription in Rome. The inscription is known as CILVI 24944. It dates between 16 BCE and 37 CE, and it has the word Christians in it. So pretty clearly, this group has been around before the supposed ministry of Jesus or anything like that got back over to Rome or something. So it's pretty clear that this group has been around for quite some time, going all the way back potentially into like the 1st century BCE. And Jesus is just a myth that they come up with later on.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. The only other thing I had to ask was about the I know this is gonna sound dumb to a lot of people, but the Shroud of Turin. I want to know your thoughts on that because I feel like it's pretty damning of the crucifixion. Yeah, okay, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
This is a face. If you were to get an imprint or an impression or anything like that from this face, if it was covered in mud, dust, dirt, or blood, or even if you were to somehow explain that radiation or light was coming off of it onto a sheet and you were to get the impression, once you lay the sheet flat, it would look like this. Much like the Mask of Agamemnon. This is an actual funerary mask that I'm going to show you here. So it looks like that. We should get the sides of the face. We should get like the ears and everything like that. Unfortunately, that's not what we see. We see something like this, highlighted over here in the green. This is not how we would actually get it if it was laying on Jesus. It would actually look a lot more like this. Because a body is a 3D object. And when you get an impression of a 3D object onto something like a sheet and lay it flat in a 2D plane, it will look different. That's how that works.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I got. It was good talking to you, man.
Yep, not a problem. Thanks for coming up. Bit of a shameless plug here, but if anybody's interested, the book Christ Before Jesus from me and my co-author, we find that the New Testament is written in the 2nd century, and we deal with some of the ramifications of that, like Jesus and Paul not existing. Obviously, you can continue on here. We'll talk about more of this shit for free, but the ebook is just $3. The link is on the YouTube account, as well as up on the bio on TikTok. So check it out if you can. Let's see. The next person here, we got PR Ariel. PR? Is that Puerto Rican Ariel, or is that like
Puerto Rican?
Oh, okay, Puerto Rican. Okay, thought maybe you were in like public relations or something.
No. I just wanted to say that I appreciate what you're doing here on live.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You said earlier that you believed in, what was it that you believed in?
What?
When the lady, she was on here, she asked you what you believed in. I think you said Yahweh.
Oh no, I was saying shit because I knew that nothing that I was going to say was actually going to be good for her. If I said I didn't believe in the God of the Bible, then she'd be like, "Oh, that's why you believe what you believe." Mm-hmm. And then if I said I do believe in the God of the Bible, she'd be like, "No, you don't." You know, it didn't really matter. I'm a mythicist. I believe that Jesus didn't exist.
What do you believe in?
I'm a mythicist. I believe that Jesus didn't exist. That's what a mythicist is.
Okay. All right. You're married?
Me?
Yeah.
And twice on Sundays. Okay. Why? What's up?
No, because I see the ring on your finger. I was just wondering.
What are you talking about?
Your other hand.
God damn it. Yeah. Anyways, what you got?
You are married, right?
Yeah. No,
To a
I
woman
just
or a
wear that
man?
ring on that finger for just.
I'm just
no reason.
asking questions to a woman or man.
Both.
Like serious.
I don't understand what the third degree is for. Go ahead and
I'm just-
present
I'm
your
just
evidence for
asking, I'm
Jesus or
just
Paul
asking.
or what.
I'm just asking questions.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on if you're just gonna keep asking questions like that. What do you got?
All right. I mean, no, you can move on because I'm trying to get somewhere, but you can.
Okay, sweet. Steve Cartier, what's going on?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Doing good. What you got?
I just want to say, man, wonderful job earlier with the lady, man. You really did a wonderful job at explaining to her all of the, contradictions in the New Testament. I give you an applause for that, bro.
Yeah, well, it's what I do. Anyways.
You're good at doing it, bro.
Yeah,
You're good at doing it.
Yeah. They don't think it be like it is, but it do. What you got?
I got a question for you. According to what they tell us, Paul are the earliest writings, right? Even predate some of the Gospels.
Say what?
Do they predate the Gospels, Paul's writings, or no?
Kinda. Does it predate all Gospels? No. It comes out at the same time as the first Gospel, Evangeline. But does it predate the canonical ones? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the canonical ones.
But
Okay, so,
the earliest iterations of them predate the first gospel or the canonical gospels. That's the thing. Like there's an early version of the Paul's letters that show up at the same time as the first gospel, Evangeline, published by Marcion. But then over time we get not only new gospels that like refute Marcion's gospel, but we also get edits to Paul's letters. So the earliest gospel comes out at the earliest version of Paul's letters. And then the canonical version of Paul's letters come out at about the same time as the canonical Gospels. So it just kind of works together over time. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now, in 1 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 11, verses 23, it kind of, I was thinking last night because I was late and I was reading. Paul talks about the Eucharist.
Okay.
Right? But Paul
right.
wasn't there at the Eucharist. Like, how did this happen?
It makes more sense the less you think about it.
Right? Okay. What happens, but then when we do think about it, how did Paul see this, Last Supper take place? Like, is there something to this, or am I just tripping?
I mean, he says he got it all from Revelation. So, I mean, it's just... C'est la vie, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's magic. I ain't got to explain shit.
Right.
Like, it's
Is
just
this,
silly.
In a way, like an anachronism, or how you said I already know. With the
No,
time
it's
doesn't
just
matter?
it's just weird. It's just but that is in, by the way, that is in the oldest versions of Paul's letters. You do have talk about like the Lord's Supper and stuff like that. They're referred to in Badoon's book as Master's Dinner. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how that works. I mean. That's how that works.
Magic.
But throughout Marcion's early iterations of Paul's letters, it just says that like Paul received the gospel story from revelation. Like he just received it. He didn't get it from anybody. It was just given to him through like a vision, basically. And so
Yeah, he wasn't
having
even an
having Paul
eyewitness
talk
according
about
to
him
the
this way.
story.
Say what?
Mm-hmm. He wasn't even.
Well, I can't hear you anymore. Somehow you ended up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, in his writings, he never claimed to be a physical eyewitness, like physically touching him or seeing
Right.
him. It's just a vision, right?
Yeah. He gets it all through revelation. Yeah.
However, I appreciate the info, man. I just wanted to see what your thoughts was on that.
Oh yeah, it's weird. Yeah. So I agree with you. It's weird.
All right, appreciate it, bro. Continue doing the good work, man.
All right, thanks. Yeah. The Lord's work. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. Wait, do we have that from YouTube? Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. What's going on? Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, so I just want to talk about your conversation with the woman previously about quote contradiction.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Contradictions. You say quote unquote contradictions. Did you watch that thing and somehow come across as and have that come across to you as like potentially not a contradiction?
Well, 1 second. So let's establish some ground rules. So
You
if
can't read
allow
the
me,
Bible. That's the
well,
ground rule.
if you allow me to speak
Okay, go ahead.
uninterrupted,
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
do the
yeah. It's
same for
fine.
you.
It's
I
whatever.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Well, you're off the app. I can't hear you. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so you stated that since Matthew mentioned going to Egypt and Luke went to Jerusalem, therefore that is a direct contradiction.
No, it says that in Luke, after he's in Jerusalem, they immediately go home after they're done. They don't go back to Bethlehem. But in Matthew, he's in Bethlehem and he goes to Egypt for a while and then tries to go back to like Judea and then has to go over to Nazareth and they end up in Nazareth. Luke explicitly has them coming from Nazareth to begin with, by the way. So it's not just the fact that they go from Bethlehem to Jerusalem in Luke. It's the fact that they go from Bethlehem to Jerusalem and then it says when they're done in Jerusalem, they go to Nazareth. So there's no trip to Egypt.
So therefore, there is no trip to Egypt just
Correct.
because it wasn't. Okay, so you're
Because
saying
it says that they have to go up there for purification rites, which are done at 30 days according to the Moses' law. And then it says after they're done with that, they go to Nazareth. So there's no trip to Egypt.
okay, so Matthew does not deny the trip to Jerusalem, and Luke does not deny the trip to Egypt.
No, it does,
Not
because it says
correct.
after they're done with the 30-day purification rites, it says they go to Nazareth. So I don't know where you're getting this. It explicitly says that they go to Nazareth after they're done with the purification rites.
Even though in Matthew they went to Egypt because they received a dream that,
Yeah, even though that's the contradiction, man. Yeah, it says it in Luke, even though Matthew says something different. That's explicitly what a contradiction is.
okay, so let me use this analogy, right? So let's say me and you take a trip.
No, let's not use the analogy. Let's go ahead and just approach the text as the way that it says. Because I have a good feeling that the analogy is not going to be a one-to-one. We can just use the text, explain how Egypt fits into Luke.
Okay, so they stay in Egypt until Herod dies.
I mean, okay. I mean, I wouldn't want to appeal to Herod because it's going to make it worse. Like, you probably don't want to bring up the Herod or the census or anything like that because that's going to be an insurmountable problem for you as well, but we won't worry about that. But sure, they're in Egypt until Herod dies.
Okay, man. So listen. All right. So if you will, I will present the analogy 1-to-1.
No, just present how they can go to Egypt when it says after the purification rites in Luke, which is at 30 days,
40
they,
days.
whatever, they go back to Nazareth.
Okay, so if two people express an experience, that does not mean the other experience didn't happen or the trip altogether did not happen. Like, for example, if me and you take a trip, we go to Costco.
So
and
where
then
does
after
Luke?
we go to
So where do
Target,
they go from?
we talk
Stop
about
coming up with
Costco.
weird examples.
Well, hold
Just
up.
show me.
Let me-
So how do they get from Egypt? Because it says that in Matthew they go from Bethlehem to Egypt. So when did they do that? Because in Luke it says they go from Bethlehem to Jerusalem to Nazareth. When did they go back to Bethlehem? And then to Egypt? Like when did that happen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a compressed series of events, right? So just because everything
Where is it compressed? What part of Luke is the trip from Bethlehem to Egypt compressed into?
unspoken, it does not directly contradict. There is no direct contradiction
Yeah,
whatsoever.
it
What
is.
you said,
It explicitly says that they leave. It says after when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee to their own town of Nazareth. Where's the trip to Egypt in here? It explicitly says when they're done doing what they needed to in Jerusalem, they went to Nazareth. So where is it?
Yes, it came later.
After they go to Nazareth?
It was unspoken. So, like I
Where?
said,
Where? After they go to Nazareth, it comes after this?
Okay, listen, man. Listen.
You
So
said
if
later. Later than what? Later than what? Later than what? You're off the app. I can't hear you when you're off the app, man. I'm trying to figure out later than what? You're still here, man. Just
yes, give me 1 second.
why? Because ChatGPT hasn't came up with a good enough excuse yet?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay,
I'm asking
Grok
you
hasn't
why
come
would
up
I
with a
know?
good enough excuse yet? Gemini hasn't come up with a good enough excuse yet?
No, sir. So listen. Okay.
Apologetics.ai hasn't come up with a good enough excuse yet?
So I
Like,
noticed what you
it's not
do
going to go
is-
anywhere.
So I notice what you do. You're a master of logical fallacies. You try to discredit the person that you're arguing against to strengthen your argument. That is
Yeah,
extremely
you know those
egregious.
pesky facts about, like, you know, not having any kind of evidence or anything like that? Oh, man. I hate it whenever somebody points out the fallacy of me not having any evidence for my shit. I hate it when that
No,
happens.
That's logical fallacy, and that is
A logical fallacy
inherently
of not having any ideas to what you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying.
I'm pointing it
trying
out.
to
I
explain
want you to
myself.
explain why you said later. Later than what? It
You're
says
not
when
giving me
they
the
had
opportunity to
listen. I asked you already, don't tell me the meta about me not giving you an opportunity. I sat here and waited while you were off the app and you kept looking up something to try to find an excuse. Miss me with that bullshit. This says, when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee to their own town of Nazareth. And you said it was later. Later than what?
Okay. So, do you mind giving me a brief moment to get the exact scripture, or is
Go
that
ahead.
off the table completely?
Go ahead.
Okay. But yes, let's take a step back. Like I said, you are abundantly egregious. You don't allow anyone to finish what they're saying to support their argument.
Just say it, dude. I'm sitting here waiting. Just say it. Hurry up.
Case in point, and then you attack
Just
the
say
person.
it. Just say it.
Okay. Well, hey man, this is a very unproductive conversation.
Just say when. When did they do it? Did he leave? No,
No,
he's still here. Just say when, man. Say when. When did they do it?
Okay. So, do you understand why? Okay, and then he leaves.
All right. Sorry about that. Wife needed
alright.
something. All right. Say what? Go ahead. So what'd you find? Yeah, everything's good.
Okay. All right. So you briefly asked, where does that say that, right?
Yep.
Or
Yeah,
why
like
or
later.
when?
Later than what?
Okay. So let's go down the series of events, shall we? Jesus was born in Bethlehem. The circumcision was day 8. The presentation at the temple around the 40th day.
Mm-hmm.
The family returns to Bethlehem.
Where?
The Magi
Where?
arrive. They go
Where?
back to
Where?
Egypt. Herod dies.
Where?
And the family returns
Where?
and settled in
Where?
Nazareth.
Because this says that when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee.
So it's unspoken, right? So there's 2 series of events. One does
So
not
you're
contradict the
so
other.
when it's okay, what does this mean? What does this mean here?
Let me finish, man.
What does this mean?
Okay, man, listen.
What does this mean?
Do you mind if I explain? You
Okay.
asked
So
to explain,
listen,
and I'm trying
listen.
to explain.
Okay.
but
You're
not
about
letting.
you're about to get muted because overall you have been very dishonest. You're trying to say that it's unspoken, but unfortunately this takes the wind right out of your sails. It explicitly states that when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee. It doesn't say, oh, they returned to Galilee just later on sometime. It says when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord. It doesn't say or insinuate at all that there is some kind of potential things that happen between fulfilling the law of the Lord and returning to Galilee. It says when they had finished doing this, they went to Galilee. And you're trying to say that sometime between finishing the law of the Lord or finished everything required by the law of the Lord, sometime between that and going to Galilee, they went back to Bethlehem and then went to Egypt, hung out for at least some time, and then tried to come back and then just happened to go to Nazareth, which is what Matthew says. You're trying to put all of that right there.
Okay, and you're trying to discredit.
No, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read the book as it says. You're trying to add to the Bible.
No, sir. So listen.
Yes.
You're abundantly correct, right? If you take it word for word, but
Yeah.
therefore, just because it does not.
So
say
you think that God wanted the words of Luke to not be taken word for word? You wanted people to insert stories into commas like that?
Okay. So if you will, I allowed you to speak. May I? Okay. So briefly, man, just because it didn't explicitly say that right at the comma, that doesn't mean it didn't happen entirely. Let's say, me and you both take a trip, Costco and Target. You
All right,
only talk
stop
about
with the
Costco.
no, we're not going to go
listen,
we're not
okay,
going to
so
go with any
therefore,
kind
by
of
your logic,
we're not going to do
the
any
Target
of
trip never happened.
Okay. If you try to bring up one more time some kind of weird analogy, you absolutely will be disconnected. You will probably be blocked because I've told you already we're not going to do that because you're going to bring up some kind of shitty non-one-to-one analogy. It explicitly states that when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee. And you're trying to say that actually, no, they finished everything required by the law of the Lord, then they went back to Bethlehem, then they went to Egypt, then they returned to Galilee. You're trying to add to the Gospel of Luke. We haven't even addressed the elephant in the room, which is the fact that Herod the Great, who is the reason they go to Egypt, died 10 years before the census that is talked about right here by Quirinius, the governor of Syria. We haven't even addressed that. Like, there's massive problems with this, man. This contradiction that I'm pointing out is the least of your concerns. It's awful.
Okay. So with that, you believe if A, B, C happens, and only A gets addressed, B and C therefore must not have happened.
Where's the B mentioned in this? What you believe is whenever it says A, B, C, that there's actually A2, A3, A4, a whole bunch of things like that, simply because of the fact that a book that talks about a completely different time, aka the King Herod time, which is 10 years prior to this, by the way, mentions a different story. You're trying to combine two things because of a clear contradiction. You're trying to smooth it out. That's the problem. That's what you're doing.
Are
I'm
you
not trying to
absolute?
say like honestly, if this had just said later on they returned to Galilee, okay, like I could accept that later on. Like I would think that it's weird that Luke wouldn't mention such a ridiculous story or something like so big, like hiding out in Egypt for multiple years. It sounds like before Herod dies and stuff like that, and then coming back and all this different stuff with the wise men, all this different stuff with dreams telling him to go to different places and stuff. Like I think that it's weird that he doesn't mention it. But if he just said later on it happened, I guess that would work. But he doesn't say that. In the Gospel of Luke, it explicitly says, when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee. And you're trying to say that actually Luke leaves a space in there when it says, when this happened, this happened. Actually, when this happened, a whole bunch of other stuff happened, and then this happened. And the only reason you're doing that is to try to make it make sense with something that talks about something that happened at best a decade prior.
Okay, so within that span of time, nothing else could have possibly happened whatsoever, right?
That's what it says.
Okay, so there is no. So they just magically appeared.
Nope. There's no there's no magic appearing at all. It says when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee. There's no magic involved here. This is a natural story, man.
Okay, so so when they did return to Galilee, there's nothing in between that they could have done whatsoever.
This is pretty clear. It says when they finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth.
Okay, so you're taking it absolutely, and
Would you like to try to insert the story that happened at best 10 years prior? Because again, Herod the Great was not around at the same time as Quirinius the governor of Syria, much less a month after Quirinius does the census. So, I mean, it's making it worse.
You're speaking in absolutes, man.
Yep, because Herod the Great dies in 4 BCE, and Quirinius the governor of Syria starts his reign in 6 CE and does a census in 6 CE. That's 10 years later.
But you believe that since it says so directly, in place of that comment, you're saying that I'm trying to input a story, right?
Yes, you are trying to input a story that happened at minimum 10 years prior into something that very clearly doesn't even mention it and tells you exactly when they returned to Galilee. You're trying to not only add to the Bible, you're trying to make something that is 10 years prior fit into the Bible.
Okay. All right. I got you, man. So just because it doesn't say everything in between from when they returned to Galilee, it
doesn't mean that you can fit something from a minimum of 10 years prior.
Exactly. But it doesn't also mean that you can just say nothing else happened ever.
Unfortunately, that's what Luke says. So again, I don't know what to tell you. It tells you exactly when they returned to Galilee. They returned to Galilee. Words mean words, man. We're only going to read this one more time. When did they return to Galilee? When they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord. That's what the word when means. It tells you when they actually returned to Galilee. When did they do it? Did they do it after they came back from Egypt? Was it after they went back to Bethlehem? Is it after Herod tried to unalive them? Is it after Herod dies? All this kind of shit. Nope. It explicitly says when. It says when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord. And you're trying to say that it was actually after a whole bunch of other things. You're basically saying Luke was wrong because it explicitly is saying they returned to Galilee when this happened.
Okay, so
in fact, what you're trying to do is you're trying to read this as if it's just like a story. Like it says, oh, they then finished everything required by the law of the Lord, period. And then it says, after returning to Galilee, they went to their own town, or something like that. Like you're trying to approach it as if it's not a sentence that tells you when they returned to Galilee. You're trying to approach it as if it's like two different just sentences on their own, just telling you different parts of the story. No, it explicitly, this whole phrase here is just trying to tell you when this happens. This is not a sentence on its own. Maybe if it just said, again, they finished everything required by the law of the Lord, maybe, but it explicitly is using the word when because that's the point.
Okay, only up until when they finished everything. That is when they returned?
That's exactly what it says.
Anything in
When they
between on their
had
return
finished
to Galilee.
everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee. It's telling you when they did it. And this thing right here is something that happens at 40 days out, 30 or 40 days out, whatever. Doesn't matter. There's still no time for Egypt.
Okay, so outside of your own individual interpretation of it all,
No,
you're
outside of me reading the fucking text. I'm not interpreting anything. I'm just literally reading the words that are on the page. You're the one who's doing some kind of weird insertion, which is par for the course for a lot of Christians like yourself. But anyways, that being said, what do you got?
Okay, so I'm trying to put this in layman terms here. So you're saying on their return to Galilee, nothing could have ever happened whatsoever, right?
Sorry, that's what it says.
Okay, it says that they didn't do anything specifically. They just returned straight to Galilee, right?
Nope, it says they returned to Galilee when they finished everything required by the
What
law of
about
the
the
Lord, man.
in-between? Just because they don't, I took a step here, I took a step there, and just because they don't document every single step, every single time they wipe their butt, every single time they pee, drink, that doesn't mean none of that didn't happen.
Mhm.
It's a brief synopsis of the overall events that occurred.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. On the way back from Bethlehem north to Nazareth, I bet they took a pit stop dead south into Egypt.
Right, so just because it doesn't make sense to you what direction they took, therefore it must not have happened, right?
Yeah. Also, Herod the Great isn't alive at the same time. So, congratulations. You're
so they
stupid
have-
for like 2 different reasons.
They have the presentation at the temple around 40th day, right?
Awesome. Cool. Herod the Great is not alive at this time. Are you aware of that? He dies in 4 BCE.
No, I don't believe. No,
So you're not aware of it?
no, I am aware that he. Well, of course, I'm aware that he dies, right?
Okay, cool.
But he's
So
not-
Herod the Great dies in 4 BCE, and his son, Herod Archelaus, takes over. This is explicitly stated in Matthew 2. Quirinius is the governor of Syria whenever they do the census in 6 CE. We know about this census. We actually have inscriptions that talk about when it was done and how it was done. All right? We know that it was done in 6 CE. And it says this census was taken while Quirinius is governor of Syria. He begins his governorship in 6 CE. So 10 years after Herod the Great dies. So listen. So in order for this story to make any sense, you think that it says when they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord and also went back in time 10 years and were worried about Herod going over to Bethlehem where they went back to, then they returned to Galilee.
Why are you saying it like that?
Because Herod the Great dies before the census.
No. You're making it seem like it's abundantly ridiculous.
It
So
is.
Okay, so
So do you think he went back in time? Do you think that Joseph, Mary, and Jesus went back in time?
Okay, if you will.
Do you think that Joseph, Mary, and Jesus went back in time? It's a yes or no question.
Obviously not.
Okay, so then it's impossible for them to have been in Bethlehem for the birth of Jesus during the census of Quirinius, the governor of Syria, and then dodge Herod the Great, who died 10 years before the census.
Okay, so when you put that extreme in that comma, that filler.
Yeah. So again, you can't go back in time. You already said that they didn't do that. So how did they dodge Herod the Great, who died 10 years before the census? If you don't address that question, you're going to be dropped.
Okay, I hear where you're coming from, man. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah. So stop trying to fit it into this where it doesn't say it. You're trying to make something that didn't even happen in the same time, the same decade.
but it's not a
Fit
direct
into it's a contradiction because it's not a thing. It's impossible.
direct contradiction.
It is a direct contradiction and it is a historical impossibility. You were trying to make it fit. Nope.
For you to
Herod
say
the-
that it's a direct.
Nope. It's a direct contradiction and it's historically impossible. Is there anything else in the Bible you'd like to point to?
Okay. So this is. Oh, I see the comment where it says stop using abundantly. So this has become an abundantly unproductive.
Sweet. Sounds good. Sit and stew about it. All right. Let's see. We got Bard Lucy.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said before because my battery cut out a little bit there. Can you repeat that?
I said we've got Bard Lucy.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I've been listening very intently. I should say that I actually agree largely with Jesus as a historical figure angle that you're coming from. I'm not coming up as opposition. I'm genuinely curious. What is your position on the position of Paul or Saul of Tarsus? Is your position that he was a real historical figure or that he was completely made up as well?
Up there. Yeah, Paul never existed.
Paul never existed. Okay. So when you look at the early Christian mythology, how do you figure that the early church actually formed? Is this just a collection of cults, an offshoot of Essene Judaism, or is it something else, just a kind of collection of people, or was there kind of around there?
Yeah, I would say that it's a offshoot of probably Serapis worship. Christianity, we see, or Christianity, it exists as like a mystery cult going back to about the 1st century BCE or so, and then it starts taking on like a new life with a mythology of Jesus there in the 2nd century.
So how would you say that? How would you say that? Did it just crystallize in your estimation? Did this mythology just crystallize, or was there something pushing it, or towards this sort of like the gospel narratives? Are you? I'm just curious to see where the angle of thinking, what your central thesis is, about the formation of this early church.
I'm confused. What are you asking exactly?
Well, I'm just curious to see. So your position is that it is a mystery tradition that emerged in the 1st century BCE and then moved forward. Were there particular social reasons for that, do you think? Or
I mean, it's a syncretic religion. The reason why I would say that they're connected with Serapis is, well, we have multiple instances of these kind of connections there, but nevertheless, Serapis is a syncretic god. Is a Greco-Egyptian god. It takes on different things from like Asclepius, who is a Greek healer god. You have like a Set as well, who is like an Egyptian god. There's different stories that go into the worship of Serapis and the god of Serapis. Likewise, Christianity is also a syncretic religion. We can see that they pull from a bunch of different influences, and so this is something that helps it grow because it's something that is really bridging the gap for a lot of different people.
Okay, yeah. So I'm very, very curious to see this. I will actually be getting a copy of your book so that I can actually read your central thesis on this.
Yeah,
my personal view is that even if Christians are saying, no, Jesus was real, Paul was real, there is still a massive problem when they come up and say that, because where is the accounts of Peter, Thomas, Andrew, James, the people supposedly personally trained by this figure of Jesus? Like, why is it this figure of Paul that dominates the New Testament when he wasn't personally trained? That was one of the reasons why I left, was because I found that alone just did not hold water. But I'm very curious to read, and I hold a degree in this in the study of religion, so I'm going to be very interested to read your book. I was just like curious to know sort of how you felt that the early church actually formed, and how it formed and why, and what the social reasons for that formation was. So I was just curious, and it was a very interesting discussion.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming up. Feel free to stick around and ask some questions as well. Check out the book and let me know what you think. Send me a DM if you have any questions, or if we didn't explain something well or something like that. Just let me know.
Yeah, no, I'll drop you a follow, and I will check your book out.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was Bard Lucy, everybody. Bard Lucy. I think that's how you pronounce it, because it had some kind of little inflection over the A, so I'm not really sure if that was like Baird or something. I have no idea. But we're going with Bard. Bard Lucy, everybody. All right, what is going on, Josue?
Yo.
Hey.
Hey. Why do you say Jesus never existed?
Because he doesn't line up with history.
What do you mean he doesn't line up with history?
Yep. So there's multiple things in the New Testament that don't line up with the history of that time.
TikTok live debate thing? Shut up, dude. Oh.
Dead ass, bro. Go to school, homie.
Yo, who is this? Give me a minute.
How are you still in school? It's summer,
It's,
man.
we have like this one thing that we have to come
orientation.
Yeah.
Then why are you not at the orientation?
I am.
We're at lunch, nigga.
We're at lunch.
How old are you?
Why? I'm 14.
No, I didn't.
Well, I answered one question. So that's how that goes. Anyways, if anybody has any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. The request button is right about there or down there. Wait, Muslims and Chinese have Jesus in their history. What? What are you talking about? Come on up. We can talk about that. I don't know what you're talking about. D Balls over on over on TikTok says, "Host, what are your credentials? Have you formally studied this or contributed to the field?" Then asked again, "Host, what are your credentials? Have you formally studied this or contributed to the field?" Then you said, "What about the works of Josephus? What about works of Josephus? What about works of Josephus?" Dear God, dude, I sent you an invite to come up. Accept that and just come on up. Jesus Christ, D-balls. Chinese Jesus. Oh yeah. Vaughn 333 says, "You were there, so what say don't." Okay. All right. You were there, so what you say don't got no backup. Jesus and Paul and Mary Joseph all existed. Oh, you weren't there. Jesus Christ, man. Over there on TikTok, we got some people. BM Me Too SK says, "What is your belief that Jesus and Paul never existed?" If you are on YouTube and you're like, "Hey, I want to go up there and I want to put this cowboy in his place," or this so-called cowboy, this wannabe cowboy, or whatever, just come on up. The request button is over on TikTok, however. You're going to have to click the link to go over to TikTok. There's a link on the profile there for YouTube, and as well as there in the chat, you can probably scroll up and see the link to go over here. As long as you have a TikTok account, you should be able to come up. Sometimes it makes you have to have a certain amount of followers or something like that. But if you got both, then, click the link and come on up. You're a cowboy now. Whatever. Again, as I said earlier, yes, I am a cowboy. My father was a cow and my mother was a boy. All right, let's see here. Then who wrote the books? I like how you put punctuation in there, but you didn't put the correct punctuation. Yo, can I translate your book in Creole? Nah. What is going on? Spirit Man.
Well, hey there, cowboy. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. What you got for us?
Well, listen, if I'll just tell you briefly some things that I've done in Jesus' name. They're according to how Scripture's written out, and He's allowed me to lay hands on and heal people by the name of Jesus.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest doing that. That being said, what is your evidence that Jesus existed 2,000 years ago?
Well, the fact that the Holy Spirit moves for him. I heard it and I believed, and then He allowed me to begin to come into this if I was a son, as if I was a son, and called me son. And I went to the nursing home a couple of months ago, urged along by the Lord, and laid hands on a man that was in need. He had an arm and a leg on the same side that wasn't working. He was in there taking therapy. And I seen he had faith to receive his healing.
All right,
I laid hands
really quick,
on him
really
and
quick, really
prayed.
quick. I don't care about whether or not you can do magic today. I'm talking about whether or not Jesus existed 2,000 years ago. How did you determine that was the case?
Well, I heard it as a boy from my grandfather.
That's
and
not a
I-
problem.
and I-
So how did you determine that your grandfather was speaking the truth about 2,000 years ago?
Well, because the fact that he's not a liar, and
Well, generally speaking, that's fine, but how did you determine that that 2,000-year-old story was true?
well, the same way I determined if someone hands you a key to their car and they say take the key and go do this, you just believe them. You see?
That doesn't make any sense. There's nothing that you have to believe. What are you talking about? Believe that they have a car?
No, well, you would believe that it was the right key. If
Well, I mean, you'd
handed you a
find
key
out
to-
pretty quick. You know what? That's a good analogy. We'll go ahead and go with it. Because as soon as you put that key into the ignition, you're going to find out whether or not that was the right key. So you can actually try to see if there's evidence that that key worked. So what was the evidence that showed you that the idea, when they handed you the Bible, that it actually worked? That it actually made sense as something 2,000 years ago? What was the evidence that proved that it actually happened?
Well, I just told you that and what he gave me the gift of healing, and that
Sweet.
ought
Well,
to
that
be
doesn't mean that it
evidence
actually
for
happened
everybody.
2,000 years ago. What does that have to do with it 2,000 years ago?
Well, if it was all a lie, well, you wouldn't be able to do these things today.
Says who?
Well, what if it was a lie? You wouldn't be able to.
Again, says who?
function.
Who told you that?
Well, if
Who told you that
if
if Jesus didn't exist 2,000 years ago, you couldn't heal in the name of Jesus today? Where's the connection there?
Well, the same as you couldn't use a key that isn't the right key. Jesus is the right key, and Scripture's true.
How do you know?
accurate, and correct.
How do you know that it's true, accurate, and correct when it talks about it historically? That's what I'm asking.
Well, he says, "Heaven and earth will pass, but my word
Cool.
shall
How do you know
remain."
he actually said that?
Because of the Holy Spirit, buddy.
Okay. How do you know the Holy Spirit was around 2,000 years ago?
Because he leads me to understand.
Cool. Well, that's
Scripture.
today. I asked 2,000 years ago. How did you How did you know that it exists 2,000 years ago?
Well, the Holy Spirit wouldn't urge me to keep reading the Bible if it wasn't accurate.
How do you know?
Because they function on accuracy.
Prove it.
One eternity later.
All right. We got someone else who's coming up here. Say no to heresy. You there?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? What you got?
What's up, my guy? I was actually calling in to see about that King Herod objection that you were talking about. I just
Oh,
wanted to know
boy.
a little deeper on what the contradiction was.
Yeah, King Herod dies in 4 BCE, and the census of Quirinius, which is talked about at the beginning of Luke 2 for Jesus' birth, happens in 6 CE. That's 10 years apart.
That's the only objection, or does it go a little deeper? I'm sorry.
Does
I'm
it
sorry if
need
I'm
to
not
be?
understanding.
Can you be born during the presidency of Clinton and during the presidency of Obama?
Well, the thing is, I mean, with
Can
with
you be born
presidencies-
during the presidency of Clinton and the presidency of Obama?
I mean, can you be born twice? That's
Can
what
you
you're
be
asking?
Can you be born during the presidency of Clinton and during the presidency of Obama? Is that possible?
Well, if I'm born on the presidency of Clinton and I'm already born in President Obama's time, I mean, are you saying it like that, or are you saying born twice?
I'm asking the question. It's just a yes or no, man. However you
Well,
want to
yeah,
take
I could
it.
be born in the time of Clinton and still be born and raising up by the time Obama is president.
I
would
asked you
say.
if you can be born in the
Both
president.
times?
Yes, during the presidency of Clinton
Yeah,
and
both
during the
times,
presidency
yeah.
of Obama. You think that
Yeah, no, I would
someone
say
can
no.
be
I
born
was-
twice? Okay, no.
I would say no, definitely.
All right. So
Yeah, I was
that's
trying to
what
get to
happens
understand-
here in the Gospels. The Gospel of Matthew says that Jesus is born during the reign of King Herod, and the Gospel of Luke says that he's born at minimum 10 years later during the reign of Quirinius, the governor of Syria.
And that was the census, right, that you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to know.
Yep.
Awesome, man.
that would
Thank
be
you so
the problem.
much.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
awesome. Appreciate you.
All right. If anybody else has any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Come on up now. Christina the Goddess. He likes to crawl back into his mom. We don't kink shame. Yeah. I like the idea of like when John, it kind of makes John make sense because he's like, how could one like be born again? And he's like, Jesus is sitting there going, shit, I was born twice. Because yeah, it is kind of funny. It does actually kind of make that a little like hit different when you think about that conversation with Nicodemus in John 3, where he's like, can I go back inside my mother's womb and be born again? And Jesus just sitting there, just sweating, just be like, sorry, but I think king shaming in that situation is justified. What is going on? A Cinder. Oh, what? And Cinder already left. No, I don't even think that it was somebody. I don't think it was an op. I think it was like a friendly who just accidentally clicked the button. Whoa, 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 Sweet Pea. All right. Cinder, I hardly know her. I like it when the Mr. Eddie gets a little spicy. Spicy Mr. Eddie is funny. Still flawless. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You know what? It is.
Flawless victory.
Let's see. Do you talk about Serapis becoming Jesus in your book? So Serapis doesn't necessarily become Jesus. I think the Jesus character seems to be connected to Serapis as opposed to anything else. Like a son of Serapis, if you will, that comes down. I'm a friendly, by the way. Might be. Yeah. Jan, I need some meat.
Arby's, we have the meat.
The Alderman on YouTube says, why didn't Jesus and Paul exist? Because their story does not line up with what we know about the first century. If you'd like to talk about it, you can hop onto TikTok. You can come up and have a conversation there. Do the basketball sound? What's the basketball sound? I don't know what the basketball sound is off the top of my head. Unless it's this one. There we go. You believe in the Old Testament? Like, it exists. Like, the Old Testament is a book or a collection of books. Let's see. Stephen Jada says, even skeptical historians accept Jesus and Paul were real people. Well, come on up.
I like turtles.
Meat sweats. Paul's liar.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Reggie Miller's looking good. And boom goes the dynamite. I have not, Lando.
That's why they call him Black Salami.
So there are two places on this planet that I feel like I probably would not be able, like I probably wouldn't be able to visit. Okay, go ahead. We've got Jumanji.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Is your last name colon backwards?
Yeah, I've been on here before. Yeah, I think you said that. Yeah, I was on here, bro. But I got another question though, man.
All right.
Okay, so you say that the Gospels were written in like the 2nd century, right?
Yep.
Okay, now as far as I know, they said the Book of Hebrews was written in the 1st century.
Okay.
So who were they talking about in like the Book of Hebrews?
Well, Hebrews is definitely not in the 1st century, but I mean.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
No.
Oh.
Hebrews is super late. Super late. That's why they even question whether or not they should add it into the canon. Origen said that it was written by like a fan of Paul.
Okay. So none of the epistles or any of the other books are written in the 1st century?
No, we don't have anything in the first.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, that's what I was wondering because I just heard that. So I was like, how's they in the 1st century and then the Gospels after that?
Yeah, so you have the first time that Paul's letters are published in their earliest version of them shows up about 144. We get the canonical versions of them later on as people edit them. But then you finally have somebody who's a fan of Paul, as Origen says, who writes in the stylish kind of a Paul, and that's Hebrews. But that'd be just late second.
Okay. All right, man.
Yep. All right. Thanks for coming up. If anybody's got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Come on up. Look, we got 411 people out there on TikTok. How many people on YouTube we got? How many people we got? We got, let's see, 193 people right now over there on YouTube. So look, there's bound to be some people out there who actually have good evidence for Jesus and Paul. I refuse to believe that there are that many mythicists out there. I mean, maybe. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
But I don't think that that's the case. I think it's more the case that people are just sitting there, just not willing to come up and actually defend what they believe. We got yeah, who came up here and wasn't able to defend what he believed, but maybe he's doing what Jesus said and turning the other cheek. Let's see what he's got. What you got for us today?
Hey,
Yeah.
Do you mind going to Luke 1 for me?
You mind giving me evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Well, we're referring back to the King Herod, right?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And by the way,
So Luke mentions that it is under King Herod. If you go to Luke 1, and he
yeah,
says that
it's almost like it's trying to say that Mary was pregnant for 10 years. Is that weird?
Okay, so do you mind going to Luke 1 for me?
Oh my God. This is going to make your argument worse. You don't understand. You have no clue what you're talking about, and yet you keep coming back up here. You spent the whole time that you were down looking at the same very clear contradiction and historical impossibility that I pointed out to you. You understood it, and it sounded like you kind of did, and then you walked off and continued to read about it, and now you've gone back to the pile of dog shit that you had presented before and stepped in it again with a different foot. Why are you doing that? Like, King Herod and Quirinius, the governor of Syria, did not exist at the same time.
Quirinius was the governor, not the king.
Not the king.
Luke mentions
Quirinius,
King Herod.
Quirinius, the governor of Syria, and King Herod did not exist at the same time. They did not exist, they did not exist at the same
contradiction
time.
that you're stating is, so both gospels did not say A happened, and then Luke says A did not happen. That would be a direct contradiction, so that you're well aware.
No,
You're taking the
no, that's
external
not how that
history,
works. That's not how that works.
which
Nope.
is a misalignment.
Nope, that is not how that works. A contradiction is two things that can't be true at the same time. It does not require that one of them has to reference the other one.
It most certainly does. It has
No,
to say
that's not how that
A
works.
happened, and then the other source says A did not.
No, that is not how that works. A contradiction does not have to somehow reference the other one. If I say that the car is red and you say the car is blue, that's a contradiction. That doesn't mean that I have to say the car is not red or you have to say that the car is not blue. No, we don't have to address the other person's claim. We just have to state two things that cannot be possible at the same time. That is all that a contradiction is. You have a failed understanding of English, so that's probably going to spill over to the Bible. And we've seen pretty demonstrably that that's the case.
But Quirinius
No,
was
that's
the
not an ad
governor
hominem.
of-
You don't have a grasp on English language, which is why you're saying that contradiction means something different than what it actually means. And you're trying to defend that with a full chest of confidence.
Well,
You are
two things
wrong.
can be present for the same situation. So yes, we are both correct. It can be a direct contradiction or an verbal
No. Listen. I did not say that it can't be what you just said. All I said was it doesn't have to be that. So no, we cannot be both correct. You said something that was exclusive. You said it has to be something. I said it didn't have to be that. So
Okay,
no,
sure,
we
sure.
cannot
No,
be
yeah, you're
true.
right. I
You've
was
somehow contradicted your explanation of contradiction. You are terrible at this.
No, I get it. So let's backtrack a little bit. But Quirinius was the governor under Herod.
No. That doesn't make any sense. Herod was the king of what? Herod was the king of what?
Are you
Herod was
asking,
the
like,
king
you
of what?
genuinely
Yes,
did
I'm
not-
asking you. Herod, what was Herod the king of?
Okay, so
What was
I will
Herod the
gladly-
king of?
Can you go to Luke 1?
What was Herod the king of? Answer it or be disconnected. In fact, you know what? Answer it or get blocked. What was Herod the king of? Or say, I don't know. What was he the king of?
Enlighten me. Enlighten me.
Say, I don't know, and I'll tell you.
All right. Yes, I will continue. I don't know.
Judea.
Right.
Quirinius
Judea.
is the governor of what?
Syria, but
Okay,
again, I don't
so
know, right?
is Quirinius under Herod?
Do you understand
It-
umbrella system?
Is Quirinius, who is the governor of Syria, which is part of the Roman Empire,
Roman Empire,
under
there you go.
Judea, which isn't part of the
this
Roman
hierarchy.
Empire?
You have the king.
Okay,
of a
listen, we're going to
province
try
as well
this
as
one
governor.
more time. Do you think that Quirinius, the governor, and by governor, I mean procurator, of Syria, is somehow under a king of Judea, which wasn't part of the Roman Empire? Because he's a king.
So you don't think those two things could have happened at the same time?
No,
So he
they
could be the
didn't.
governor of
We know
Syria
they didn't. And also, a governor of Syria, which is part of the Roman Empire, would not be under the jurisdiction of the king of Judea, which wasn't part of the Roman Empire. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, but you're saying that. Okay, can we go to Luke 1? And
You're
this-
trying to say that Quirinius was under the king Herod. That's what you tried to say, was it not?
Well, right,
Was
we
that
said
how
that
you were
a
trying to
king is
pivot
under-
this?
A governor is under a king.
Sweet. In this
Well, they're
particular
not the
case, the
same
governor was
hierarchy,
under
that's a
the
different
no,
subject.
no, listen. The governor in this particular case was in Syria, so he's under the emperor because he's part of the Roman Empire. Judea under King Herod was not under the Roman Empire. So you're just kind of seeing that, like, you're seeing like the rank difference or whatever. That's like saying, oh, hey, you know, Private Lou from China is under President Trump. And it's like, no, I get that you can see that there's a president and a private, but they're not even part of the same country. Like you're looking at a hierarchy and you're saying that person is under that person. Not only did they not reign at the same time, they're not even reigning in the same area. So congratulations, you're stupid for two reasons.
Okay, so if they're a part of the same hierarchy, that's a different subject. I'm not even mentioning that.
Yes,
a
you
governor-
tried to mention it. You tried to say that Quirinius was under King Herod. You did try to mention it. That was your point. And now I'm eviscerating it.
Okay, do you mind pulling up Luke 1 for me?
Acknowledge that Quirinius was not under King of Judea. Acknowledge that.
Okay, so I can acknowledge that a different province is not under another.
Acknowledge that Quirinius was not under King Herod of Judea, or you will be blocked.
Directly under in the same hierarchy, no. But that is not the subject here.
Well, it was because that's what you tried to say.
Governor is under a king.
I wasn't trying to argue that. You tried to say that Quirinius was under King Herod. That's what you
Both of
said.
those things could. So you have one.
Yeah. Listen. You tried to say that Quirinius was under Herod. You did not try to say a governor is lower than a king. That's not what you said. You said that Quirinius was under Herod. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Sure. Listen,
Okay. So that's false, right?
Do you mind pulling up?
Is
Luke
that
1 for me?
false? Is what you said false?
Okay. Sure. Let's go with it. It is false. Can you pull
Okay.
up Luke 1 for me?
So you've shown yourself to be very intellectually dishonest and not having a firm grasp of this kind of stuff. But sure, let's go ahead and pull up Luke 1 to see how much of an ass kicking you actually want. What do you want?
Go to.
Go to what?
Verse 5.
What about
There
it?
we go. Wait, scroll up.
What?
Okay. So yours, okay, your version says something entirely.
I don't even know what you're talking about, man.
The King James version
Mm-hmm. What about it?
So why does your version say something entirely different? That in that bold text, the title above verse 5.
But this isn't part of the. It's just like the explaining what's about to be talked about. That has nothing to do with it. What
Talking
the
about
fuck are you
birth
talking
of
about?
Jesus in the days of King Herod of Judea. So yes, both Luke and
Jesus
Matthew
Christ, you can't even say those words right. So again, this is talking about in the days of King Herod of Judea, which again is somebody who didn't exist at the same time as Quirinius, the governor of Syria. They lived at the same time, but Quirinius.
Herod.
Right.
Oh, so there's no contradiction.
No, it is still talking about somebody who dies 10 years prior because Luke is a dumbass.
From your own individual interpretation.
No, from historical interpretation. That's why most critical scholars just go ahead and just say we're not even going to deal with it. All you really needed to do is just search for the census of Quirinius, and you would have seen this. It says the Gospel of Luke uses the census of Quirinius to date the birth of Jesus, but also cites the time of Herod the Great, who died between 5 BCE and 1 CE, while the Gospel of Matthew only references Herod the Great. Most critical scholars agree that Luke is in error, while some religious scholars have attempted to defend the Gospel, sometimes invoking unproven claims, which is what you are doing right now.
So nice use of Wikipedia.
Sweet. So I want you to explain to me how someone who died between 5 BCE and 1 CE is somehow reigning at the same time as someone who is who begins his reign in 6 CE. I want you to explain that to me. If you don't explain it, you will be blocked.
It was as early as 1 CE when he was appointed governor of Syria.
When do you see this?
In the Roman, the Roman supporting evidence.
No.
Don't
Where?
look that, yes.
Where?
I'm not really sure. So now
Where?
you have both gospels mentioning.
Where? Where does it say this?
So now that you have both gospels.
Where does it say that?
Explicitly mentioning
Where does it say that?
King Herod of Judea at
Where
the
does
time
it
of
say
the birth
that?
of Jesus Christ.
What text says that?
Did you hear me?
What text says that he was appointed governor of Syria in 1 CE? Where does it say that? What text says that?
Early Roman documents?
Like what?
Okay, give me 1 second. I was doing my research when you kicked me. Because you used the external sources of the Roman
Please
document.
use please show us the Roman document that talks about that.
You use the Roman document.
Show us the Roman document that talks about how Quirinius became the governor of Syria in 1 CE. Provide that for us.
Okay, bear with me.
All right, you got anything?
One second, man. 1 second.
So you're doing all that research and you weren't able to find anything. Go figure. Because no, Quirinius was appointed the governor of Syria in 6 CE, not 1. He also started the census in 6 CE, and we have inscriptions about it. So even if he was somehow the governor in 1 CE, which he wasn't, and you don't have any evidence to back that up, you just kind of pulled that out of your ass like everything else that you've said so far, he didn't even do the census until 6. You would have to prove both of those things because it's not just saying, oh, hey, Quirinius is around. It explicitly says the census that he does. So congratulations. You can't pull anything out of your ass anymore because I'm going to call it out and I'm probably going to block you. So do you have anything real fast before I go ahead and hit the block button? What do you got?
Yes, I do, man.
What do you got? What text says that he was appointed governor in 1 CE?
I'm sorry, it said 4 BC. I'm sorry. That was
You
incorrect.
think
It
that
said
he was
early
appointed
Roman
governor in
documents.
4 BC?
Yes, it says early Roman documents shows contemporary evidence that supports Quirinius.
Where are you getting this? What we asked for the Roman document. What document says that he became governor in 4 BC?
Contemporary evidence that places
What
him-
contemporary evidence?
the Roman documents. It just
What
mentions Roman
document?
documents on Wikipedia.
No, there is nothing on Wikipedia that says that he was governor in 4 BC.
But it places him contemporary evidence in 4 BC as early as 4 BC.
What are you talking about? What do you mean
You have the
places
Roman-
him?
Pull up exactly where it says he was appointed AD or 6 AD.
What are you talking about? So the actual Wikipedia page for Quirinius says that around 5 to 3 BC, he led a campaign against the Homonides, a tribe based in the mountainous region of Galatia and Sicilia. Or Sicilia.
So 4
So
BC would be direct to that 5 to 3 BC.
yeah, he's not the fucking governor, dude. He's a military person. What are you talking about?
Led the campaign to be governor.
No. What the fuck are you? Like he got voted? Get out of here, you piece of shit. Go read a book. That's funny. A campaign. I was like, what is he talking about? A campaign? Like, please vote for me. Vote Quirinius. All right. No. I use it now. He can't use it. Yeah. No. He could absolutely use it. Fine, that's fine. But he read this wrong. A campaign. The Democratic Romans. Yeah. The Romans, largely known, famously known for voting for their governors and for their emperor. All right. What is going on? Jesus Christ. Pat Buchanan.
What's going on, man?
What you got?
Yeah, I was listening to the last exchange, and you bring up some pretty good points, but I'm trying to piece together how you get from there's contradictions, therefore Jesus didn't exist.
Oh, well, he was just focusing on the contradictions. That's all that it was. The
Okay.
contradictions are all they do is just show that the New Testament way of presenting Jesus doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't be born before you're born, 10 years before you're born. So my stance is that even the natural Jesus and Paul, that's the stance of me and my co-author, that even the natural Jesus and Paul as presented by the New Testament did not exist. So that makes sense if you see contradictions in the natural story. So the way that the New Testament presents
okay.
Jesus doesn't make any sense. But, I mean, we go further than that as well. Like, there's other reasons why the Jesus of the New Testament didn't exist. But a contradiction is just what we were focusing on there.
Okay, what is your other stuff?
I mean, it's written in third person omniscient, which is indicative of fiction, where you're able to like hear behind walls and stuff like that. Let's see. The supernatural stories get lifted from prior sources and cultures. The natural stories get lifted from prior sources.
No.
Say what?
I'm agreeing with you. So
Okay,
would
and
you
then
say
the
with,
teachings
you're
as well.
absolutely certain that he didn't exist?
Yeah, the guy from the New Testament definitely didn't exist. If you want to,
Like,
if you want to
absolutely
take,
certain.
well, if you, so you take the New Testament, you set aside the supernatural stuff. Even that natural guy that's left, he didn't exist. But if you want to draw a circle around certain things, maybe you could say you could whittle it down to something so ambiguous or vague that maybe it existed. But the only problem is we don't have any evidence for that, so it's just kind of a waste of time. And you got to try to determine how what parts are real and what parts aren't real is the thing. Like what
So how
parts
do
you
you
would
deal
put.
with Bart Ehrman? How do you deal with Bart Ehrman says he did exist and he was crucified on the cross?
I say, what's your evidence for this? And then what he would end up saying, usually what he ends up going to is that Paul met the brother of Jesus named James. And you, as to quote Bart Ehrman, you can't have a brother and not exist, which makes sense. But unfortunately, we don't have any evidence that Paul even existed, let alone Paul wrote those letters in the first century. And even the earliest iterations of Paul's letters, as actually pointed out by even Christian scholar M. David Litva here recently, we actually see that the earliest versions of Paul's letters didn't even include any mention of James, the brother of Jesus, in them. So Bart Ehrman is actually relying upon something that is not authentic, and we can tell is not authentic now. Bart Ehrman's just, I mean, it's not that he's an idiot. He's just, it's just outdated. He's using outdated information.
Interesting.
Host, real quick.
Sure.
I do gotta leave soon. I just want to know, would
Yeah,
you be
what's up?
down with doing a formal debate on did Moses exist?
Did Moses exist?
Yeah, I would debate you on that.
No, not necessarily too interested. Why would anybody think that he did?
I have evidence, and I don't want to argue
For
it right now.
Moses?
Yes. So again,
Okay.
would
I
you
mean,
do
that's
that,
going to
or-
be silly. It's not going to make any sense.
Again, you're saying it's silly, but you haven't even heard the argument. So I'm saying,
No,
would you be
it's
down-
it's silly to assume that, or unless you were just saying like someone named Moses. Is that what you're saying, or like the Moses from the New or the
again,
Old Testament?
The Moses from the Torah. Okay, I'm not making an assumption.
Oh, well, then no. There's no mention of Moses in history, so okay. It'd just be a waste of time. Anyways, that being said, do you have anything on Jesus or Paul?
No, but I'm saying that, like, would you do it on, like, did the Sinai event take place? Did the revelation take place? I'll debate you on that.
I mean, that's also not going to have any kind of evidence for it, so it's just going to be a waste of
Again,
time.
that's your assumption, right? I'm saying that
No,
I
it's the assumption of reality. But I mean, if you want to appeal to magic and just talk to somebody about magic, you
no,
can.
it's not my argument. So again,
Did
I'm
the
saying-
Sinai revelation? Yeah, that's magic. You just don't call it magic. That's weird. No, I'm not going to debate you on whether or not magic exists. I'm not an idiot. So I mean, like, what? How is it going to work?
The debate would not be on does magic exist, right? It would be if the
Did you not
is
say
it-
the evidence for the Sinai revelation?
right? It'd be the evidence that these events took place.
The Sinai revelation, as in like.
Yes. Again, I'm
Please explain to the viewers in one sentence what the Sinai revelation is. Define that so that people know what we're talking about here.
right. The events that took at Sinai, such as God appearing to tens of thousands of sages.
Yeah.
For
So
example,
magic.
Again. The point is, I'm not going to like argue in the debate, right? For the existence of like a bunch of magic, right? It's going. Right, so I'm going to clarify, right? I'm just going to argue that the event took place as well as like what is described in the Torah. Now, I'm not going to give you the evidence now, right? Because that's why I want you to do it.
I'm gonna keep that a secret to myself.
Right, which is why I asked. if
No,
you-
dude, we don't. We talk facts here, sir.
I got
We
you,
use
right? So
evidence.
again-
We have support. We don't talk magic.
So again,
Do you
I'm
have anything
glad-
for Jesus or Paul, or do you want to keep talking magic? Because you can talk magic somewhere else.
So again, I'm glad to provide you the evidence. if you're
Not a
willing to
problem.
do
Save it for David
right?
Copperfield. All right. Anyways, back to people who are trying to talk about history, like actual history. What's going on, Pat Buchanan? Are you still there, or you disconnected? What happened there? Oh, and he left, I guess. What's going on, Duck? Surely there's the sound of a duck I can find. Hey, what you got, Duck? Duck, you there? Oh, you muted. I got to send you an invite there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Doug. What you got?
So, yeah, good old Moses, man. Doesn't Egypt have like proof showing that they paid all their workers and they didn't even have slaves?
Yeah, I don't know where on earth this person would possibly have the idea that anything in Exodus actually like happened the way that it's described.
I saw a bush on fire down here by my hollow the other day, but I mean,
The fact that you said my hollow lets me know that you are definitely in the South. Down by the creek. Yeah, anyways.
I looked up the thing he was talking about with Luke or whatever. It does say historically that they found some tablet that shows that there was somebody that served twice as a governor, and the names broke off, so they think it could have been Quirinius. That's the only thing historically I was able to find.
So,
And that was even Gemini.
so the issue is the fact that so they're trying to say that Quirinius served multiple times, but the issue is the fact that it's not just saying that Quirinius was serving as governor; it's explicitly saying that there was a census that was done. So you'd have to say that there were 2 censuses done under Quirinius, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, especially since the book of Acts actually talks about that census. Again, it says when the census was done and there was a rebellion against it, it mentions Judas the Galilean leading some rebels against the Roman Empire.
Right.
And this is something that Josephus talks about in relation to the census that happened in 6. During that census that happened in 6 CE, and Quirinius, the governor of Syria, did it. It pissed off a whole bunch of Jewish people because they didn't want to be included in Syria, because Judea, for the purpose of the census, was added to Syria, and they didn't like that. They didn't want to be considered. They were like, no, we are separate. We don't want to be part of the Roman Empire. And so there was a rebellion against it, and led by Judas the Galilean. And this is explained in Acts, and it says the census. So that same author of Acts wrote the beginning of Luke and talked about that census. They're referring to the same one. So we know a lot about it. It's that one. So even if Quirinius did have some kind of, he was appointed more than once, which we have zero evidence for that and evidence against it, really. But even if he did have 2 reigning time periods, and even if he did do multiple censuses, it's explicitly talking in Acts and Luke about the one that happens in 6 CE.
Cool. Thank you. I'm actually on the agreement level with some of it. I'm trying to find ammo to use against my mother, because she loves her Israel is chosen bit, and I keep showing her all the stuff about the Bible and how many times it's been edited and by who and all that fun stuff.
Right.
So, but on the other hand, though, you have Greek mythology. You have every mythology. You got Bacchus, Dionysus. You got Osiris, and you have Jesus. You have all these guys with a lot of the similar same things. Born of a virgin mother. They died. They came back 3 days later. Blah blah blah. So I think there had to be something back in there that it's just too common, like for all these places to have the same type of story.
I think it's more just that they are using a mythology similar. It's just that around the time that the story of Jesus pops up is when we start to get like more human kind of characters, if you will, that are involved with this kind of stuff. Like we have someone that's very similar to Jesus, is so much so that Bart Ehrman calls it out in at the beginning of each of his classes. His name is Apollonius of Tyana, and people believe that he actually existed. And his story is very, very similar to Jesus. But the thing is, there's not a lot of good evidence to suggest that he did. It's just some stories that somehow get written at the end of or not somehow, but late in the 2nd century, the Empress of Rome actually commissioned somebody to write a story of Apollonius of Tyana. And so, like, we know like where like the money was coming from and everything like that, and what the purpose was. But I mean, this was a fairly common motif at the time.
Isn't it like Tiberius? Weren't they part of the whole thing of the New Testament being written? Wasn't Tiberius part of that or something?
No, Tiberius would have been that would have been around like 40 or so. That's not, that doesn't really have anything to do with the New Testament per se. He's mentioned in the New Testament, but
somebody to write the New Testament as for control of government.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that they're writing the New Testament for that purpose. I think it's just like it's a mythology that this mystery cult had, but eventually it becomes so big of a religion that like the politicians of the day have to kind of cozy up next to it if they want to actually lead. Kind of sort of how like in America. If you were running for president and you said, "Oh, I'm not Christian," like like that'd be the end of your political career, pretty much, or not political career, but political or campaign. Your campaign for president. It's just kind of silly how that happens.
He was Christian until he became president. Now he's Jewish, I guess. So
well,
I mean,
yeah, well, yeah, there's that too, but Yeah, I don't think he knows about either one of those religions, really. If you've been,
Nah, not
honest
one
with you,
damn bit.
yeah, but
I
anyways,
like how he didn't even put his hand on the Bible whenever he was sworn in. So
oh yeah,
that says a lot.
yeah, and he couldn't name his favorite Bible verse. Yeah,
Right,
silly.
right. All right. Well, thank you for the ammo there, bud.
Yep.
I love learning.
Yep. Thanks for coming up. That was Duck, everybody. What is going on, Nene? Nene, are you there? Nene?
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Wait, sorry.
Wrong kid.
Say what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to come up. I was
Oh.
just listening and.
Any questions while you're up here?
something, Yeah. Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries. So thanks for accidentally stopping by. Carl Smith. Carl Smith, you there? Carl Smith? Carl Smith? Weird. All right. That was weird. Not really sure what's going on over there. We do need that. Let's see. Do I have that sound? We're saving that one. Oh, wait, hold on. Ah. It's either oops, I did it again, or
Did I do that? Did I do that?
it's one of the two. We'll do oops, I did it again. I think that's probably better. All right. If you got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
It's so beautiful. I love Seattle, so when you go there, you have to have two things.
There's this guy. This guy's up here. It's Amadeus Almighty, everybody.
What's up? Oysters. A raw oyster.
Just out here doing my job. Just wanted to say hi.
Oh.
Can't be on here for very long.
Oh.
But I'm working. ACLU. Fighting for our rights and stuff.
Oh, there we go. Wait. Are you wearing purple on the side of the street?
I am.
Do you have a megaphone?
I do not, no.
Oh, okay. The ACLU is a lot better than the BHI. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, hell. Oh, my God. Is that what you were implying? No. But, yeah. Fighting for civil rights. Gotta go. Just wanted to say hi to everybody.
Well, that's Amadeus Almighty. Make sure you're following Amadeus Almighty. Amadeus Almighty, good friend of the show. And let's see. Actually, I talked to my wife yesterday. I think we'll be doing a game night here before too terribly long. And I believe we'll be playing Kahoot. Up to 100 people can join us. So we'll see how it goes. But we will see how it goes. And someone created a Kahoot that was CBJ version. So it should be fun. And we'll be doing a fundraiser for my good friend as well. So here we go. Dog 358 says, "What in the Brokeback Mountain is this?" Ask your dad; he'll tell you. Let's see. Backup says, "Did Paul take at all from Jesus ben Sirach?" So I don't think so. I don't think there was anything that connected there with him. I love Brokeback. Yeah.
Arby's, we have the meats.
Saul Masia says, "Do the Are You Ready to Rumble sound?" Oh, do the Are You Ready? Okay, let's see. Okay. Let's see. I think there's an. No, we don't have the other one. Edward says, have you ever been asked to do a formal debate? Yes. Me and my co-author, we actually did a formal debate. It was Christ before Jesus versus, I can't remember the other two guys, but it was on Modern Day Debate. We talked about the resurrection of Jesus. They would not let us do it over the historicity of Jesus because they had, I guess, had that topic fairly recently or whatever. So the moderators told us we couldn't do that version. Or couldn't do that topic. So yeah, but obviously, you know, if Jesus never existed, then he definitely didn't resurrect. So, you know, there's that, but, what's going on? Tulip.
Hello. I'm not a believer, but I wanted to come up here and say thank you for all the information that you've been teaching me, especially with like, the story of the contradictions between the two stories of, you said King Harold and
Herod
what was
and
the other one?
Quirinius. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I actually wanted to come up here because I'm currently
raining outside.
in I want to come up here and talk about like how I'm currently in Rome right now in Italy, and I'm like learning a lot about like about Christianity, and I didn't know if there was any fun facts that you knew about the Roman fall and like how Christianity was like the main you know, religious state.
What do you mean exactly? Like, what are you asking? I should be able to help, but what?
So, what I learned today was that that Christianity, were being persecuted during the time, where paganism was more relevant, especially with like the, um, I don't remember, but all I know is that when Constantine came into power and gave the rights to Christians to be able to have their freedom, um, a lot of Christians ended up destroying a lot of the pagan temples and replacing them into churches. So I didn't know if
Yes.
you had anything to add on to that.
That is definitely true. So Constantine, with the Edict of Milan in 312, he makes all religions legal in the Roman Empire, including Christianity, but he has a soft spot for Christianity because his mom was a Christian. Now, whether or not he became a Christian, like on his deathbed or later on in life or whatever, kind of sort of to be debated, but regardless, Christianity becomes the official religion after him of the Roman Empire in 380. So in 380, Theodosius II makes the official religion of the Roman Empire Christianity, specifically Nicene Creed Christianity, but whatever. The point is, it's at that point that they just went just nuts and just started destroying all kinds of things, documents, temples, statues, all kinds of things that they deemed satanic or, you know, non-Christian. The word pagan itself is actually coming from a Latin word paganus, which means like someone who lives like a country dweller. The closest word that we have in American English is redneck. So it was used because Christianity was popular in cities where there was more people, and because it's a syncretic religion. So things that are going to be in the cities, that's where like people would actually come together and like bring their own cultures together and to be more of a melting pot. So Christianity would make more sense at that point because it's something that brings a lot of people together and a lot of different ideas. It's syncretic. But someone out in the middle of nowhere would be less likely to hear about different ideas. They would hear their own ideas or their own kind of village's ideas. And so they were deemed rednecks or pagans because they weren't Christian. They believed in the other gods or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird how like that flips, and like today in America, like we say, oh, the rednecks are going to be the Christian ones. But it's kind of weird how that works. But yeah, pagan means redneck, and Christians weren't really that persecuted, really. Aside from about a 3 to 6 year period before the Edict of Milan in 312, it wasn't really explicitly illegal. It's just that people didn't like it because of the things that came along with it. Because as Pliny the Younger says in 111, a true Christian is said to not be able to worship the emperor. And that was a law that you had to also acknowledge the emperor was God. Oh, she left. But yeah, that was the law. Oh, sorry, my mom called. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. It's not that Christianity was persecuted. It's that it just kind of, it broke the law, but because it was syncretic, it grew and grew and grew to the point to where it becomes the official religion of Rome in 380 after they realized this religion is massive. Now, of course, that's helped from 312 with Constantine, because once it becomes legal, then you can go around and proselytize. That's the thing. You can spread it really fast at that point. Fuck yeah, spread it. Anyways, they weren't persecuted. No, not particularly. Not that I'm aware of. Not for being Christians, I guess is the thing. Not explicitly for being Christians or worshiping Jesus or something, but more for breaking laws that were already in place prior. What is going on, Jonathan Baptiste?
Hey man, I wanted to say awesome stuff here, very educational. I just had one question, kind of a little bit more like on how Christianity kind of came about. Like Judaism, Islam, and Christianity are all like from these Middle Eastern derived stories, and they became super prevalent. Like, how do you think it became so globally recognized and they're all centered in the same location? And why would people kind of hear this myth and like take this to heart? Like, why is this like reoccurring story the one that became so global?
So Judaism, so the Jewish people at the time of like Christianity's rise and whatnot made up roughly about 10% of the Roman population. It's actually quite a bit. About 1 in 10 people in the Roman Empire were Jewish, which is kind of high amount if you think about it. And then over in that area specifically, over in like the Middle East and stuff, it was much higher than 1 in 10. You know, but you're going to have some people who weren't big fans of the Roman government. You're going to have some fans of people who believed all kinds of, different stuff. And the Jewish people were also not big fans of the Roman government, especially around the time of like the 1st century, 2nd century, because that's when you get the First Jewish-Roman War, the Second Jewish-Roman War, and the Third Jewish-Roman War there in the 130s. So it's after the Bar Kokhba revolt, which is the last Jewish-Roman War there in the 130s. After that, Emperor Hadrian banishes the Jewish people from Judea, says you can only come back once a year. I think it was Passover, and sends them out into the surrounding areas. And that's when you actually start to get the first gospel published about a decade later. It's this mixing of what was already around in this like Hellenistic belief, these practices, all of a sudden mixing with this incoming Jewish belief. And so you start to see it meshing a lot, or at least in some pieces or some parts of the world or some parts of the Roman Empire, it was meshing. So eventually it becomes, like I said earlier, the official religion of Rome, because the mother of Constantine became a Christian. And so he makes it legal in 312, and then it becomes a huge deal. All religions were made legal in 312, and so Christianity was able to actually go out there and spread its message. And in 380, it became so big that it was just time to just adopt it as the official religion. It's a syncretic religion, though. It brings a lot of different influences together into one thing. So it resonates with people. And I mean, hats off to them for being able to come up with something like that. But that's just kind of how it grows.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because so the Jews already started in a position of like not power, but like really close to powerful figures, moved around, and then grew from the surrounding areas.
Well, I wouldn't say that Christianity is based off of Judaism. It's just that the texts that we have are definitely influenced by Judaism, or at least some form of Judaism, some like maybe Gnostic form of Judaism or so. But Christianity had been around for quite some time, especially in like Asia Minor and Alexandria, Egypt, in its own form. Like it's like this Greco-Egyptian mystery cult. It's just that it blends with Jewish ideas in the 2nd century, and that's when you have a gospel that shows up, like the story of Jesus. That's when the blend with Judaism happens. But the point is, Judaism was already sort of around. Like the Jews did a pretty good job of, like the ancient Jewish people, the ancient Hebrews, Israelites, whatever you want to call them. They did a pretty good job of like preserving their stories, preserving their way of life, their culture. They did a pretty good job of doing that and defending it as well, against attacks and stuff like that. They did a pretty good job. So as a result, they were, like I said, 10% of the Roman Empire's population. And because of their longevity, because they had this perceived longevity of like thousands of years and stuff, which, I mean, obviously they've been around for a long time. But when they presented this book, known as the Torah or the Tanakh, and said, hey, we have been around for a long time, and here's all of our stories, here's our history, blah, blah, blah. People viewed that as, holy shit, like they're legit. So we're just going to back off and kind of let them kind of govern themselves for quite some time until they eventually got absorbed into the Roman Empire. So, I mean, they had the ability to really kind of grow on their own, separate from a lot of influence, because of the fact that they did a pretty good job of maintaining their own kind of culture.
Got it. So they were kind of allowed to just develop until they became such a big presence that like they really couldn't.
Yeah, and then you
compete with
can't
them
do
anymore.
anything. Yeah.
Got it. And you're saying that Christianity existed. So Christianity existed at the same time like obviously they exist now at the same time, but like Christianity didn't stem from Judaism. They kind of mixed together to become the New Testament.
Yeah. It's the writings, because when we think of early Christianity, we think of the writings, the books and stuff like that. And the writings show up with Jewish influence. Prior to that, though, Christianity was its own thing. It didn't really have Jewish influence. There's no real sign of Jewish influence there.
And would you say that it would have existed prior to like 0 AD? Or would that
Yes.
be when it actually started?
Yes, I would say that Christianity, or Christianity, as it's sometimes called, or the earliest way that it was referenced, goes into the 1st century BCE. Yeah, and I would say that it's an offshoot of Serapis worship, and Serapis is a Greco-Egyptian god that's brought down from Sinope, up in northern Asia Minor, down to Alexandria by Ptolemy I Soter, as a way to bridge the gap between Greek beliefs and Egyptian beliefs. And as luck would have it, that same city that he brought the statue from, years and years later, we get Marcion, who is the first person to publish a New Testament canon. He comes from that city, Sinope.
And is there anything about like the region specifically, like geographically, or maybe like even like scientifically, that could be the stem for why this has been such like a widely, like all the stories related to that area are so like easily adaptable for most people to consume? Like there's religions in China that, it's a huge population, but they didn't become as global. Like what makes people in the desert and going through all these struggles kind of blend well with the human psyche? Is that something you?
Well, I mean, no, Buddhism and Hinduism are really big over in those areas. Like really big. They're huge.
But not global. I mean, like what makes?
I mean,
it
yeah.
so
I mean, the
easy for
top five largest religions in the world, the Jewish faith isn't even in the top 5. Number 1 is Christianity. Number 2 is an offshoot of Christianity, known as Islam. And then you have Hinduism and Buddhism. And then I think it's Sikhism, I think.
Got you. So it's not really the area. It's just.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, Christianity itself is massive, especially when you consider all of its offshoots like Mormonism and Islam. Like if you consider that part of it, then like over half the world is Christian technically, like, or an offshoot of Christianity.
Yeah, but I feel like.
But the reason for that is, as Aaron says there in the chat there on TikTok, colonialism. I mean, like, think about how like these people in South America, like the Inca, don't have any, like the descendants of the Inca, they have no idea what Jesus is. They had no idea what that story is or anything like that. But the fact that they know about it is because, people from countries that used to be part of the Roman Empire came over and colonized them. I mean, it's how that works. I mean, the Roman Empire becomes Christian in 380 and then dissolves over time, and you end up with countries like Spain and Portugal and France and England that go and colonize just about the entire globe. It's like, yeah, no shit, Christianity is going to be all over the place. And it's going to be huge. And Islam grows right outside of the gates, if you will. You have the Roman Empire, and just right outside of that is Saudi Arabia. And that's when, or that's where Islam grows from. So they're familiar with the stories of Christianity. They use some of these stories. They use some of the later apocryphal texts, like the parable of the seven sleepers or the infancy gospel of Thomas. They come up with these ideas, and Islam is nothing more than just hard-nosed monotheistic Christianity. They take a look at Christianity and go, this doesn't make a lot of sense because you've got a lot of things that are very clearly other gods. We need to fix that. And they fix it. Or whether they reform it, if you will. And it kind of geopolitically gets isolated to the point to where it's its own thing. Because it's outside of the Roman Empire. It's not under the jurisdiction of the emperor.
Got it. That makes sense. So just colonialism, like relation to Rome, and then just like a huge population and time to develop and grow.
Connection to Western civilization and its colonialism. Yep. That's what makes it really big.
Awesome. Well, this is super educational, man. Thank you so much for bringing this up.
Yep. Thanks for coming up.
Of course, man. Thanks. You're doing great work, bro.
Thanks. Anyways, if anybody has any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I'd like to hear it. I would like to hear it. Let's see. Michael Wong says, do you ever cover topics that aren't Jesus and Paul, like conspiracy theories? No, I'm not. I don't really like conspiracy theories. I think here before too terribly long, Apostate Ape on TikTok had asked me to join him for a topic of I think it was aliens or something. I think it was aliens, like have aliens visited or something like that. And I said, I don't know much about it. I'll have to have like a computer like up in front of me, but I'll join you. Like I'll do it. So here before too terribly long, I might go on to it's not like because he believes in aliens. He thinks it's dumb. But like, it's not a debate on aliens or necessarily. It's bringing people up to talk about aliens or something like that. Like we may talk about that. We may talk about that. But anyways, that's that. I still want. Oh, there's Apostate Ape. There he is. Do I have a sound for Apostate Ape? Of course I have a sound for Apostate Ape. Yeah, I still want. Like I would. Yeah, I mean, I do it. I just don't know a lot about it. Is the thing. I don't focus a lot of my time on weird shit like that. My favorite things about aliens is how on South Park they make them speak cow because that's the people they thought that was like the biggest. Thank you. Oh snap. Thank you. But yeah, it's because they would come down and they would like take the cows, like they beam up the cows or whatever and do tests on them or whatever. And so they're always like moo 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 moo, like they speak to each other like that. It's dumb, but yeah. All right. Yeah. Moo 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 moo. All right. Someone on YouTube says, if you believe in aliens and the Bible, you're a special human being. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. What's the lunch? Well, the lunch today is, looks like some chicken Alfredo. Yes. Yeah. We got somebody coming up. This is Evil Echo. Evil Echo, how's it going?
Hey.
Hey, what you got?
I'm just new to your page. What do you believe?
I believe that Jesus and Paul never existed.
Right. But beyond that, you believe that in Christianity, or like you're agnostic, atheist, what?
What does that have to do with whether or not they existed?
I think that, like, are you Christian? Like, I guess that's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
I'm just kind of confused. I don't know why. I don't know why.
No,
Don't know why
I'm
you're
not
asking.
like trying to get an answer and then like make you put back on her or anything.
I'm very sorry, man. It sounds like you got bad connection or something like that. Whoa, you're saying really quiet. Yeah, I can't hear that guy at all. Was okay? Yeah, I couldn't. Because anybody hear him there? It was really weird. If you want to come back up, you can, but it was pretty bad. Also, Nerd Unleashed there in the chat.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
Yeah, it was really choppy. I mean, I don't mind you coming back up, but I couldn't understand a word you were saying. What's going on? An actual human.
I am an actual human.
All right.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank you for your community service. It's absolutely amazing what you're doing. Yes.
Thank you.
And then I also think that you know way more about alien stuff than you might think that you know. I say that because like people, when they are in high anxiety situations or they are reaching the edge of their knowledge and that's causing that anxiety, religion and aliens fills that gap real nice. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. So like a lot of the same arguments will probably just apply. Like you just push and say, what's the evidence for that? I mean, this is kind of how it goes.
It's a 1-to-1. It's just like aliens they fill that gap of modern day. Like, oh, I need something to answer my questions that I don't understand. Yep.
Yep. It's magic. I ain't got to explain shit. It's aliens. I ain't got to explain shit.
It is. But I can't do that, so it must be God or aliens.
Just because white people didn't build the pyramids doesn't mean it was aliens. That's how that works.
But I have to be the smartest.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It makes my tummy feel good to know that.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot, and I think that'll be over on Apostate Apes Live, there on TikTok. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
And then I had a question: has Pangburn ever reached out to you?
Who?
So they
say paint burn, like salt burn, but both paint.
Pangburn. Pangburn it's a YouTube channel. They host debates across like the U.S. and Canada.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you want to do a live debate, are you interested in doing something like that?
Like a live, like in person?
In person, like on stage.
I mean, it'd be interesting, I guess. But the problem, look, the problem with what I do in my position is that, like, I could argue it. That's perfectly fine. But a lot of what has to happen in order to explain that Jesus didn't exist, it's not just like, I'm not just going to give you my opinion. I'm not just going to be like, well, like, I just kind of think that that's kind of good. So it's going to take a while to explain like the ins and outs of how something can be manipulated or how we know that something has been manipulated moving into the past. So for instance, if someone said, oh, we know that Jesus existed because of Tacitus's annals, I've got to go up there and I've got to say, well, Tacitus's annals are not a good resource for this or source for this information because of, and then I've got to go into like the oldest manuscript and what we can see about it and stuff like that and how we can actually dissect it. It takes, for every 1 minute that someone can just prattle off like, oh, Tacitus's annals, and then move on to Josephus or something like that. For every 1 minute that they mention something, it takes me a good 6 or 7 just to go in and like explain how what they just said isn't actually what they think it is. or isn't actually a good source of information there. And that's the problem with a debate is that they're given, say, 10 minutes to say something, and now I have 10 minutes to respond to that, and I can't do that in that 1-to-6 or 1-to-7 ratio. It would need more of like a TED Talk or an explanation, or it would turn into a lesson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is closer to a TED Talk. It's kind of like if you were to mix the idea of debate with the idea of TED Talk. They're on tour with Destiny right now. They're going to all 50 states. And he's debating politics, but they've grabbed a few people that are debating like the science of infertility, the science of vaccines. So it really does turn into like education time a lot of the time. But yeah.
Someone pointed out in the chat, Brandolini's Law. That's okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. This is the state. The adage states this: the amount of energy needed to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than needed to produce it, and that's true. So, if I was on the Christian side, what I would do is I would say Tacitus in the Book of Annals, Josephus in Antiquities of the Jews, Marbar Serapion Letter, Lucianus Samosata's Passing of Peregrinus, Suetonius' Lives of the 12 Caesars, Pliny the Younger's Letter 96 in Book 10 of his Complete Letters. Like, I would just go through there and I would just say a whole bunch of shit. Thales and Phlegon. And you know how I just said that all in like 10, 15 seconds?
Oh, yeah.
But then I've got to go through and just explain how each and every one of those is not actually a good way, and then they have been interpolated. I've got to be the one to peel back 18 to 1900 years worth of historical revisionism. They've just got to state that it's there.
No, I am a psychologist. I practice as a therapist, and I go on places, and they're like, "What's a woman?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to explain to you how we even came up with social constructs, what social and what constructs means.
Yeah.
What is it about you that doesn't believe what evidence is? And like, how do you know what science, the process is? Like, how did we get here? I'm not going to explain like 5,000 years of history and why science does it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I believe that like these kind of conversations, like I'll look into it, especially if somebody reached out to me, that'd be awesome. But, I mean, I'd look into it, but like these kind of conversations, they're not good in like structured, moderated debate with like time restrictions and stuff, but rather something that's a lot more like a TED Talk or like a lecture or an explanation of something, or a lesson.
It's much closer to like a discussion. It's like it's a Socratic dialogue a lot of the time.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with it. You know, it need to be something that both me and my co-author would be a part of, because I mean there's a lot of things, especially when it gets to like stellometry and stuff like that, like it can get more technical, because the stellometry, the data science behind what we do, or not behind what we do, but that kind of goes over it to kind of give it a backbone, like our theory and everything like that. Like that's really something that a lot of people will talk about, and they'll try to harp on and say, oh hey, let's attack the stellometry, let's attack the data science point of things. So we've got to explain that as well. There's a lot of details that we got to get into.
I think that you're very good at what you do, and I think that it would translate very well.
Well, thank you, but that hope and trust is probably misplaced. But nevertheless, if somebody was to reach out, I mean, I would.
Yes,
I definitely consider it. Yeah.
I'll reach out to Travis and Thomas. They run it, so they're my friends.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, awesome. If they want to send an email, our email's christbeforejesus at gmail.com. It'd be pretty easy, I guess. But yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thanks.
Take it easy.
That was an actual human, everybody. An actual human. Which is a breath of fresh air, because we were talking about aliens. That's an actual human. Everyone else that I talked to was not an actual human. That was. Let's see. Anyone else out there? Let's see. You don't... What? I don't know what that person is saying. I don't know what they're saying, but you can come up and say something. It says something about eyewitness accounts or something. No, not you. I don't know what they're saying. I have my reservations. He was nice, but there was an air of non-humanness. Tacitus wasn't a Christian. He was Roman historian, and he wrote that Jesus was executed under Ponti. I believe that's Pontius Pilate. Okay, there we go. Yeah. You can come up if you want. All right. You done messed up, Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron!
His wife called him Ponti. Hey, Ponti. I actually searched this up earlier today. Don't ask why. Well, if you can, I'm not going to tell you why. But I wanted to know, what does Snoop Dogg's wife call him around the house? And she calls him Snoop. She says Snoop. Like, if it's not like a honey or something like that, but she just refers to him as Snoop. She doesn't call him Calvin. He doesn't look like a Calvin. Looks like a Brodus. But yeah. What's wrong with you? Peter Franz 6696 on YouTube says, I believe in Homer. I don't even really know what that means. That calls me my government name either. Yeah. I'm back. Aaron Alanis says, it leads me to think that your wife has a special name for me. I mean, like a pet name. I mean, sure, yeah, but not anything too terribly crazy. I mean, we use the same one. Amor. No. Bobby. No. No, we use the same one, so I'm not calling her Bobby. I think we all have pet names. Yeah, generally. I mean, if you walk around, like, if you have been with your significant other for a good amount of time, and you still call them by their government, like, what are you doing? Like, are you even in a relationship? If you're in a relationship with somebody named, I don't know, Calvin, and you just prefer, hey, Calvin, like, that's weird. That's weird. Big Poppy. Does she call you CBJ? No. I'll call you Amor. I call my wife Mrs. Spicy. Yeah, it is. Agreed. Yeah, see, that's my boyfriend has mi amor and Poppy. Okay, yeah. Well, see, and there's different ones. There's different ones. But here's the other thing. For those of you who have been in like multiple like long-term relationships, did you change it up? Did you change up what you called your significant other? And if they called you what the last person you were in a relationship with, if they called you what you were called before in your previous one, did you tell them to change it? Or did you just accept it? Like, what do you guys do when that comes up? Constantly, yes, I did change it up. Okay, yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to. Because if you are known as babe or something like that in your last relationship, and now you're in a new one and they're like, hey, babe, you're like, whoa. Let's try sweet pea. Let's try honey. Let's try sweetie. Let's try mi amor. Let's try something else. Yeah, it's not allowed. AJ Evans said, I don't care about the president. I'm just using the term. I prefer to have the same nickname. Yeah. I mean, it just kind of works, I guess. Always babe for me. Stud muffin. Honey bun. That works. Married twice. Both times was babe. My hubby and I each call each other Bubby. Bubby. That's interesting. Phrasing. Sweet Pea wants you to try. Called my kid's dad Stud Muffin. It's reserved for him. It's been babe for the last 11 years. I called my ex-husband Sweetie, and he called me Silly Squirrel, but now it's babe. That works. I've heard Amadeus say babe. I've heard him say babe. Not to me, obviously. But anyway, we're not getting into that. Alligator bug. I call my wife Big Dog. Yo, Big Dog. That's awesome. I'm Paul. She's Jesus. That's funny. Mine is hi, hottest dude on earth. Kind of long, but nice. On YouTube, they said, well, hopefully there's enough time between the babe stages that it doesn't feel weird. Yeah. Honey bunny banana cakes. I'll say it to you, babe. It's funny. Is there going to be an awkward sitcom situation where both will answer it at the same time? Maybe. I don't know. I was king shit in my second marriage. Man, I hope you had a third. Sweet Pea says hot stuff. That's funny. All right. My dad calls me Mountain Queen. Mountain Queen. That's really long. All right. Damn, what's wrong with the font? Looks unhinged. It should be about the same. Nah, I got it from Gray Eyes. Nothing weird. No, it's just really long. I'm a Mountain Queen. Mouth. Jesus. You can't say that, Naz. You just ruined you single-handedly ruined someone's relationship with their parent. Like, how does that make you feel, Naz? Oh my God. Whew. All right.
Hey, what's up, Jaron?
Not a lot, man.
Real quick, I just I got your book and everything. I'm still reading through
nice.
it. I did have a question that I put in the chat, but I didn't get an answer, so I figured I'd pop up. Really quick, I was reading up on this and I'm a little confused. My question is, why does Jesus quote the Septuagint instead of the Hebrew Bible in Mark 7?
Did you want the real answer?
Yeah, I'm assuming
because they use the Septuagint and no one in here is Jewish. No one who writes these things are Jewish.
Yeah, but wouldn't Jesus have?
Well, yeah, if you wrote the Bible and you were smart, but these people are clearly just like morons from outside of it that are just kind of like telling a story. In their mind, Jesus is a Greek person, like when they picture him. But I mean, you know, he wasn't. So, or he couldn't have been. So, you know.
How did they make so many mistakes? I don't understand. It's just like everywhere you look, it's like these people didn't even like take the time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. They had councils. I don't understand, and they picked certain books. So it's not like they didn't read these. Like I always go to the Book of Enoch because of when it was created. The Bible quotes the Book of Enoch. So why leave in something that quotes something that's not even in the Bible?
That's not the only time. There are actually, I think there's up to like 20 books that are mentioned or quoted in the entire Bible that are not in it.
So when they're deciding to include these books or these passages and they come across this, do they just hand wave it and go like,
They just
they'll
go,
know
eh.
what we're talking about?
Who cares? It doesn't really matter. And that's because the later people who had these councils were also not that bright. Like they just weren't. Like they could have done, like, I understand that this is fake. And obviously, I'm saying, hey, like they're faking this stuff, but they could have done a much better job of faking it. Like they really could have. They really could have. But they just didn't. I mean, if they were smart, they would have only had one gospel. Why would you want 4?
Yeah. I mean, even our boy Joseph at least tried to come up with something believable. At least he like had people sign it.
Oh yeah. He's like, hey
And,
guys. Very clearly, I pulled this out of my ass. But do you guys mind signing some things? I've just, I've got this. It's already pre-written. I just need your signature on it. And he asked 11 friends, and 8 of them are like, I'm not signing that. He's like, okay, I'll make you a different one. Would you sign that? And 8 of them are like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so the other 3 are like, yeah, we'll sign the main one.
They couldn't even do that. They couldn't even have any contemporary person be like, I saw Jesus. Here's my signature. Like, especially the claims of how many people saw him. There's 10,000 people here, or all these women who were at the cave. The people who saw him on the road to Damascus. And
the thing is,
nobody.
The beauty of it all is that they created a religion that basically made people depend on them. And not created a religion, but like they created a canon, I guess, that made people reliant upon them. If you think about it, I don't know if they thought this far ahead, but it just kind of happened this way. That if you have a text that has a lot of like weird shit in it, if you set yourself up as the authority on it, then you're capable of actually being the only one who people get to go to actually ask questions. Does that make sense? Like you make something that doesn't make any sense so that people have to go to you to ask questions about it. You're setting yourself up as the authority. And especially the Catholic Church, which, the Catholic Church is saying, oh, hey, we continue, because we have apostolic lineage, we continue to talk to God. So if you've got a problem, you come to us because we are just as powerful as the people who wrote this book.
Yeah, and especially a populace that was mostly illiterate, right? So you had this hidden knowledge, and then I mean you can tie that into early lineage of kings who said that they were somehow like anointed or from God or had some sort of lineage to these people. So all right, I don't want to take too much time. I appreciate it. I just wanted to I said in the chat earlier, Silence, you should check it out. It's Martin Scorsese. It's about these Italian church people who go to Japan and try to like recruit people, and basically the Japanese can't read it and they don't understand it, but they worship it anyway. It's super interesting watch. Very well made movie.
Interesting. Oh, I never heard of it. It's pretty interesting.
Adam Driver, what's his name from Taken? Liam Neeson's.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, Liam Neeson. That's pretty good. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's sun worship. That's what Jaguar. They thought that God was the sun because they said sun, but there was like a translation error. So they were like dying for this belief that wasn't even accurate because they misinterpreted it.
Interesting. It is the third of Scorsese's films about religious figures struggling with challenges of faith, following The Last Temptation of Christ, which I have seen, and then I haven't seen Kundun. I haven't seen that one. But The Last Temptation of Christ was the one with Willem Dafoe, where he's Jesus and he basically he gets to see what happens if he didn't die or something. Like he doesn't die on the cross or something. He keeps living.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
He
It's
runs into
called,
Paul and shit.
Sorry, it's called Pickle. Pickle. It's called Silence. Sorry. Somebody's screen name was Pickle77.
Yeah. But Silence is the movie. Yeah, I need to see it.
Yeah, great one. Anyway, thanks for coming up, enjoying the book. I'll keep reading and keep realizing how messed up my childhood was.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Yep. Well, thanks for stopping by, and enjoy learning more about your childhood there. All right. The movie Pickle sounds amazing. There's a movie about pickles, kind of. This is a Seth Rogen movie. It's like a Brooklyn Pickle or something. Or a Bronx Pickle or something. What is that movie? An American Pickle. It's an American Pickle. There you go. It's Seth Rogen is an Eastern European Jewish immigrant who gets preserved in a vat of pickles and wakes up at a century later in modern-day New York City, attempting to fit in with the assistance of his last remaining descendant, also played by Rogen. That's weird. Anyways. Brokeback Pickle. If anybody has any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Trotsky. What's going on, Sermons?
Hey, how's it going? I remember I talked to you last week for a little bit, and since then, I checked out your podcast with the Myth-Vision guy.
Oh, Myth-Vision, yeah.
Yeah, and I found that to be quite illuminating, and really helped me to follow along in the software with you guys and like where you're coming from and your ideas. So I appreciate that. But what I wanted to ask you about today was I've been digging around a little bit about the Delphi inscription, and I wonder if you guys had put those texts through your software methodology to see if there was any kind of interesting deviation there, or just what you think of it generally. I believe it's Acts 18 that it tries to verify as Paul being, I think, in like 52 CE or something like that, or around that time of the inscription being dated. Just curious what you thought about that.
So, do you know what the Delphi inscription is?
Yeah, it's like the account of the proconsul and his, I don't know, his activities. I know some of the text is extremely broken up, but I know that that's what it's supposed to attest to this proconsul being at that time in that place, right?
I mean,
because they're only for a year. Proconsuls are only issued for a year, so it would make sense that that would be substantiating the story of Acts. But I don't know that much about it. I just kind of came across it the other day and was
I don't know
thinking
about
like, oh,
it
this might
just
be
for a year, but that being said, the inscription itself does not mention Paul whatsoever. It just mentions like Gallio.
Yeah.
But Gallio is talked about quite a bit by his younger brother Seneca, who writes a bunch of moral epistles, sort of like Paul. So it kind of makes sense that he would be someone who's kind of touched on in the text there. But all it is just like it's just saying that Gallio is a person. But I mean, we knew Gallio was a person already. Other people mentioned him.
Do you think it's the same judge that Paul was in front of? Do you think that's the same person that they're referring to? I know
Well,
that
they're probably
Acts is way
referring to
far
it.
in the future.
They're probably referring to him, but I have no problem with that. But I mean, okay, like it doesn't say anything about Paul. You know what I mean? And the only reason that we think that Paul had any kind of relationship with him was Acts, which also very clearly comes late and pulls from all kinds of different sources. I mean, we consider it to be historical fiction, more or less, but like, okay, like he runs into a person who we know existed. I mean, it's not that surprising.
I mean, it's very far in the future by the time Acts writes down the story.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes it seem like, well, they might have had access to this idea or to this.
Well, they definitely had
text that
access
they
to things
used.
that talked about Gallio, though, because
Yeah,
his
and
younger
whether or not
brother
he's
talked about it.
Yeah. And if he's the person that Acts is talking about, as far as who's Paul is in front of during that trial or during that, I don't think it was a real trial, but I think it was like a hearing or something.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the right person, or if it's not the right person, excuse me, who else do you think it would be? You know,
I don't know. I don't have a problem with it being the same person. That's not an issue. It's just that it's not establishing Paul. It's just establishing a person that we already knew existed. That's like coming across a picture of Barack Obama and being like, look, further proof that Barack Obama met Peter Parker. And it's like, what are you talking about? Just because that's in a story where Barack Obama and Spider-Man meet each other, that doesn't make the other story real. Like,
yeah, but
Galileo can 100% be a real person. He was a real person. That doesn't mean that he had anything to do with Paul.
Well, if it's the same person mentioned in Acts, wouldn't that be at least
evidence for
heavy
Paul?
Circumstantial? Yeah.
No.
Because the text is from like whatever 52 something CE, and then it mentions the same judgment or the same trial that Paul is going through in Acts.
No, the text itself doesn't mention a trial or anything.
No, it doesn't, but in Acts it does. So Acts is kind of saying like, hey, there's this trial that Paul is under, this guy named Galileo. He's, most proconsuls are only issued for a very tiny amount of time. They're not like 10-year positions. They're like 1 year, 2-year positions. So if we use that inscription to date that back to like 52 CE, and that's the same person who would be, in that judgment seat for like 1 or 2 years, and that's also Paul, then maybe there's a correlation there that says Paul could have been around at that time.
That's the way, that's the thinking of Christians, but there's no evidence that happened. I mean, like, if Peter Parker meets Barack Obama while Barack Obama is president, that means that Peter Parker had to have been around between 2009 and 2017. So we can use that to date when that story happens in the Amazing Spider-Man comics, but that doesn't mean it happened.
It doesn't mean it happened, but I think it does add some correlative weight, at least in the historical kind of records, because it refers to something that happened such a long time ago by a very specific, like, I think for me,
just mention some people who were leadership positions.
Yeah, but only in a very narrow concept. Like those proconsuls, as far as my understanding, they can only be in office for 1 to 2 years. So mentioning proconsul at that specific time is basically saying there was this guy at this place at this time doing this job. And if that's the case, and he does mention Paul, hey, maybe that's the same person.
Okay.
And I get that it doesn't say Paul exactly in the inscription, but I don't think it really needs to because of how unique that historical detail is. If it wasn't proconsul, then okay, we could be like, well, he was a general for a decade or something, and like we don't know when that took place. But because the time period of being a proconsul is only so narrow, I think it does give it a little bit more weight. Not to say that I'm convinced, but it does add a little bit of interesting detail. And I'd wondered if you guys had run the whole inscription through your software system to see if like there was anything obvious that came out of it.
No, because I mean we would need to run it in Latin, and we'd have to compare it to other things in Latin at the time.
I see. Does your book at all mention that, or have you ever like spoken to anyone else about that to see like what the?
I mean, kind of, but I think we do.
It's hard to.
I think we do mention the. I think we mentioned the Galileo inscription. Pretty sure we do.
It's a hard thing to find any like contradictory dating to that document. Like I haven't been able to really find too much about it.
It's not really that the inscription is a problem. It's just kind of, it's just not an issue. It's a non-starter. I don't know how to explain it to you any other way than it doesn't do anything. Like he's just a leader that people knew about. Like it doesn't. The Pilate stone doesn't do shit either. Like we know that Pilate did reign, yes, but I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is one of the big pieces of, quote unquote evidence that like the consensus currently uses to date Paul to that time.
Well, to try to
But
date Acts, sure, but that
yeah,
or try to date when Acts is trying to say that story, yeah. But likewise, we could date when Peter Parker meets Barack Obama. That doesn't make it real. It's not proof. It's not good evidence for it. It's just, hey, here's when we think that this would have taken place if it was real.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't know too much about Spider-Man, but maybe the analogy in Spider-Man would be like if Barack Obama was a president and the president meant that you could only be president from 1 year, like a very unique slice of history, was that person be president? And then Peter Parker said,
Galileo
"Hey,
wasn't that
I
unique.
knew."
He was talked about quite a bit by his younger brother, who does a lot of the same stuff that Paul does, because Paul is like the concept of Paul is probably based off of his younger brother. So it's
not the name, just the position, the proconsul position. Like could be any name, but the position,
I guess,
is
but
it's a short position, so you could only be proconsul for like 1 year, maybe 2 years, according to the way that those positions are handed out.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, it
puts
doesn't
in a
even
unique
really.
place.
But it doesn't even call him a proconsul in Acts. It just says Gallio.
Right.
And
They
a
do.
proconsul, by the way, so in order to be a proconsul, you had to have been a consul before, and that is a term during the Roman Empire that is something that relates to like a governorship. So like, where I'm going with this is that there's no indication that it's that specific time anyways. Like it doesn't mean anything. Gallio could have presided over something at any other point in time. We're just seeing one slice with one title of what he was, and it doesn't call him by that title in Acts.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just I was coming across that and kind of curious to see what.
So
to say, 'cause
like
it's such
I
a
get kind of
accepted
where you're
fact,
going.
you know?
You're saying that like, oh, it would need to be this specific point in time or something, because that's why you kind of whittled down the Barack Obama's presidency to 1 year. But there's nothing to
Yeah,
indicate
that's-
that he was a president. Okay. So in the Amazing Spider-Man comics, it says President Obama. He calls him the president. But in this particular case, Acts does not call him a proconsul. So there's no
Yeah, you
indication
have to
that it
look
would
at
have
the
to be that 1
inscription.
year. The inscription calls him a
Yeah.
proconsul, but that doesn't mean that that's the
Yeah.
only time in his life that he could judge people.
Do you think that the dating of the document, though, at least says that this guy was in the 1st century, Gallio?
Yeah, because he was.
Okay, so I do think it's a bit stretchy for most of the sort of Christian and the scholarly consensus to link those two together, but I think that this document is the closest thing that anybody says that Paul's in the 1st century. Is that kind of right? I'm not familiar with any other sources that most mainstream sources use.
No, there's other things, because Acts is historical fiction. The problem with Paul specifically is the fact that nothing in Pauline epistles links him to the 1st century. Acts does link him to the 1st century because it's trying to tell stories of the 1st century, and it's historical fiction. Pulls a whole bunch of shit out of its ass in order to come up with stories.
Yeah, that idea though that Paul's from the 1st century because of this inscription is deeply entrenched. Though I mean, even the Useful Charts guys puts it on his charts, as Paul being from the 1st century.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but
And-
that's basically saying
yeah.
Acts talks about something from the 1st century, so therefore Paul was in the 1st century. No, there's no evidence that Paul existed, let alone that Acts is telling a true story of Paul, let alone that Acts is explicitly talking about that Gallio at that particular point in time.
Yeah, I don't think it would stand up to like, some kind of court or anything. If it was a court of evidence, like certainly wouldn't be enough. It'd be circumstantial at best. But I was just kind of digging around since I listened to that podcast of you guys.
Right.
I was trying to find like what are the other sources, and this was the only one I could really find that seems to be like generally accepted. So I just wanted to hear what you were kind of thinking about it, and if the text of that inscription had been stylometrically processed, I think it would be interesting to see if there was other manuscripts that it might mimic or sound similar to.
Yeah. There's another instance where people go, oh, you know, we've got this piece of evidence about like Festus. Festus is another leader that Paul apparently runs into and even almost convinces to become a Christian in the book of Acts. But likewise, and we found like an archway that mentioned Festus, and we were freaking out because we're like, oh my God, Festus is actually a real person. Yeah, numbnuts. Josephus mentions Festus a bunch. So it's like, that's the problem. That it's silly. You have these people who the Christians would have known about whenever they wrote these books and included in their books, and suddenly the proof of these people means that the books are true. And it's like, no, that's not how that works at all. Like it's just done.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. That's it. That's all I really had. I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
no problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
That
bye-bye.
was
Yeah.
Sermons 22. Sermons 22, everybody. All right. Let's see here. It wouldn't even qualify as circumstantial. It never connects Paul to Gallio. Yeah, like, yeah, no. and again, it doesn't call him a proconsul in Acts, so it's just kind of, you know, like, he's a guy. People knew who he was. People mentioned him. And then in Acts, it mentions him. And then we suddenly get proof that he existed. And we're like, oh, look, that's proof for Paul. And it's like, well, slow down. No, it's not. It'd just be further evidence that Gallio was a person. It'd be further evidence that Gallio was a person. It'd be a little bit more insight into his life, into his title, you know, that kind of thing. Like we know more about Gallio because of the Gallio inscription. We do not know anything about Paul because of the Gallio inscription. Not really. We know, like, we might have a little bit of an idea as to like what the author of Acts was imagining in his mind when he had Paul and Gallio like interact. We might know a little bit more there, but there's no, we don't suddenly know that Paul existed or really know anything else about Paul because of this. Let's see. It's a moot point until it connects Gallio to Paul. Yeah, that's the thing. It's evidence that Gallio exists. It just stops there. Yeah. All right. Let's see. But magic. But have you considered magic? What if they took the or counts out since we don't have the all Marcion script? No, Marcion didn't write Acts. So Acts, we just have Acts. Acts is Acts. Math is math. But anyways, Wait, what? Q, how did the... Wait, what? Wait, did I read something wrong? Acts. That's funny. Am I supposed to pronounce those words differently? Like the book of the Bible, Acts, isn't that the exact same as Acts? You know what? No, I'm doing it.
Acts. Acts.
You say them differently? Acts. 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 So there's an axe, and then there's acts. There's like an act, an act, acts. There's like a tss kind of sound in it versus the axe, more of an S kind of sound, but acts. Acts. There's like a t sound in there. Interesting. I don't know, me and Mazikeen, I think we just kind of say words like you're supposed to say them. Me, Mazikeen, and Dr. Ajim. We speak the King's English. And by the King, we mean George Strait. All right. Act 2, scene 1. Yeah. Acts. Ugh. Just acts. Just acts. George is straight. AZ Mike's like, not for long. That's funny. Not Elvis. Where do you think I'm from? Memphis? Anyways. Chuck Berry. All right. We still don't recognize the king. All right. Well, I don't see anybody requesting up. So, you know what, guys? Thank you to anybody and everybody stuck around longer than 30 seconds. A 35-second gang, rise up. Yeah, I will. I came here to chew bubblegum and kick acts. Kick acts. Oh, my God. Who do we hate? Whoever put the word... Whoever decided to spell axe and acts in such a way that basically makes it the same word. That's who we hate today. Linguists. They can be rather sneaky. A cunning linguist, if I may. Yes, there we go. Especially the cunning ones. That's funny. They put the axe in acts. I think, yeah, acts. Yeah, it's stupid. Sweet Pea says you may. Excuse me? Yes, feel the hate. Yes. Gosh. All right. Yes, they can also be very, very peculiar and very, very specific on what they want you to say. Very anal, if you will. An anal linguist. Anyways, I will see you guys later. Peace out, Girl Scout. Put me down for some Thin Mints.